4 cases of missing children in the last 1 month. President William Ruto has continued to face criticism for allegedly dividing the opposition coalition ahead of the upcoming general election. DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua and his Wiper counterpart Kalonzo Musyoka have denounced the government's strategy to weaken the opposition, saying opposition leaders will not be swayed. They have also accused the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission of distorting the results of the November 27th by-election.
William Ruto na watu yake wanasema the only way they can have a chance ya kujaribu ni kugawanya hii kura ya Mlima Kenya. Isipogawanyika hata hakuna haja ya kusimama, kwa sababu hii milioni 7 ikiwekwa ya Ukambani milioni 3, ya Western milioni 4, ya Coast milioni 2, si ameenda nyumbani?
IBC, we know as it is a Ruto commission. We tell them we are going even for private prosecution because yale yalifanyika hapa Mbere na Malava criminal. The chairman first of all anakilia mtu ambaye is not even amekuwa mulagai kwa majina yake hajulikani. Therefore the IBC chair is culpable.
Similar remarks were made by DAP-K leader Eugene Wamalwa as he continued to criticize the government's plan to privatize public institutions, claiming that Ruto and his cronies are enriching themselves through the plan.
Na leo tunataka tuambie wale ambao wanafikiria watatugawanya or they drive a wedge between Rigiji na Kalonzo ama Wamalwa, haitawezekana. Sisi tumeamua tuko kitu kimoja na tutashikana mpaka mwisho, na tutatoa mgombezi mmoja atakayepeleka Kasongo wapi? Nyumbani.
Munaona shirika kama Safaricom linauzwa at a throwaway price na wanajiuzia wao wenyewe, na huyo ni urithi ya watoto, kama vile mzee Habat ameachia watoto urithi. Wanataka hata kuuza JKI International Airport, pipeline yote. So we have to stand, and we have stood.
That's the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
You didn't expect it, but a very, very good morning to you. It is 6 minutes after 6 o'clock, and you are welcome to the Situation Room. It is Wednesday, in the middle of the week, and many things are happening. Good morning, Mr. Aseto.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you.
Pink looks good on you.
Oh, asante sana, but I need you to say that again.
That pink looks good on you.
Thank you so much. I need Evelyn to do something to your microphone because it seems to have been killed overnight.
Okay.
I'm not quite... Oh, try again.
Is it good now?
Nope.
Bado. Kapsa?
Oh, let's see in just a second. There you go. And you are here in all your glory.
Yes.
How you doing?
Salama.
Karibu.
Again, that pink looks good.
Thank you. So now that we can hear it with your full voice.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Well, okay, it's Wednesday. It's the 10th of December.
Yes.
And we're doing things a little bit differently this morning because we're going to kick it off with a conversation already, and necessary for us to do so at this time because, people are busy, but issues are very, very important. This morning, starting our conversation right now, because I know that you're trickling into the room this morning. Our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. And good morning to our audience on KTN as we get into the Situation Room for this Wednesday. The Cabinet Secretary, the National Treasury's one CPA, John Mbadi, and he's here with us this morning already. Good morning.
Good morning, How are you?
Very well, Waziri. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I think it has been a while, but I'm back.
It has been a while.
It has been a while.
I can't remember when I was here last, but it has been some time, yes.
It has. Earlier in the year when we're talking about the state of the economy and how things are changing or not changing. Thank you for coming at this hour. Of course, we know that before coffee kicks in, but you're a busy man and many things for us to discuss. So we're glad that you were able to do that with us this morning.
Thank you.
As we get into it, let's do what we usually do. Welcome you with today's proverb. Let's start off with you doing some interpretation this morning.
Yes. The proverb today comes
I thought it left with Muga.
No.
Yes.
Some things remain.
Yes. But the proverb pretty much is just from the continent. Beautiful people, people who continue to push the economy and ensuring that their countries get to be better. But this one speaks about a tree and its deep roots. A tree of patience has bitter roots, but its fruits is sweet.
Yes.
How would you interpret it?
Well, I interpret it that for good things to come, you must first of all go through a bit of challenges, and which may be really testing. And so nothing comes easy, in short. Yeah.
Well said. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, eh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's great. And thank you for being here this morning. Like we said, even as we jump into this conversation, we're looking into the economy on a scale and we're going to be looking inside the Safaricom share sale as well. We're going to be looking at the economy at large. But, we have these conversations, Waziri, because we hear things and then people want to understand exactly what's going on for them to be part and parcel of a national conversation. So even as we look at the economy at large, let's look at what has come about as a result of this Safaricom sale from our understanding on a general level. And then maybe we can get into some details. So we already know that the government is selling 15% of its shareholding in Safaricom. That comes to about 6,009,814,200 ordinary shares.
Yep.
The agreed price is 34 shillings per share, and it's coming to about 204.3 billion shillings for that 15%. So far, so good. Vodafone Kenya will make an upfront payment of about 40.2 billion shillings to this amount. The payment is in exchange for the right to future dividends that would have accrued to the government's remaining 20% value. Altogether, the deal will bring in approximately 244.5 billion shillings in proceeds to government. So let's start off from the very beginning. We know that a while ago, Safaricom did float its shares and members of the public were able to purchase. Government also has some. From the beginning of this, are we looking at only the government's share in all of this that is being sold? Let's start with that.
Yeah, first, I know there could be a difference in terminologies, but I would ask you to use divestiture instead of selling, because I think the selling has a connotation of giving out an asset completely. But we are simply reducing the government ownership in terms of shares in this company. But, you can also liberally use the word selling. Now, government has been owning 35% of shareholding in Safaricom PLC from 2008 to date. And with the 25% being held by individual shareholders who participated in the IPO of 2008 and which traded which trades liberally in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, leaving the rest 40% with Vodacom. Now, that shareholding is changing a little bit because government is offloading 15% to the other shareholder, which is Vodacom in this case. So then now Vodacom will have 55%, the government of Kenya will own 20%, and the rest of individual shareholders will still have 25%, which will be still trading in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. So that is how the transaction will restructure the company in terms of shareholding and ownership.
Okay.
Yes.
So there has been talk around the sale, let's use that term, the sale of these shares. And there are many who are saying that the government is underselling its share and that this is not pretty much what everyone expected. So perhaps you could respond to that, because fine, we will look at how much the share is going for, which is around 24. So if you look at 34%, what's the conversation? Is there any credence in those who are accusing the government of underselling the shares?
I think removing politics from this, the question you'd want those who are questioning the pricing of the shares or what the government is getting out of this transaction is where do they get their data from of undervaluation or underselling or whatever, the undervaluation of the share price. Because Safaricom is a company that is listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and so you cannot guess the value or the price of the shares, right? I think the highest these shares have traded lately is 28 shillings per share, and what we did was to do an assessment of what we call the volume-weighted price of the shares for the last 6 months leading to December 1st, actually. And the average price is about 27 shillings per share. And that, therefore, compared to 34 shillings that we are getting out of this transaction, is obviously at a premium of about 23.6%. So those who are saying that we are underselling or undervaluing the shares cannot be more economical with the truth, because really a quoted company, a listed company in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, the price is out there for everyone to see, and I'm sure they know. So that is my dilemma. It's either politics, but I don't want to call it ignorance, because most of the people who have communicated this message are people who are able to get to see what the share prices are. Yes.
Okay. The share of government in a company, any company, it doesn't belong to individuals in government, but it belongs to government, essentially belonging to Kenya, that has been purchased with taxpayers' money. Is that the case?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
So in the event of a sale, should this information have been made public to let people know that this is going to happen before an agreement has been reached, in terms of public awareness and public participation?
You see, and I think maybe that question, I'm trying to be very polite here, because really there is a process of divestiture in state-owned enterprises, and it takes 4 stages. The first stage is what we call a proposal initiation. Then we go to the oversighting stage, where National Assembly is involved, and then the third one is execution, and the last one is now receiving the proceeds and reporting. Now, what happens is that we are at where we are today, the first stage, the initial stage, which is proposal initiation, and where we announce as a government that this is what we intend to do. And of course, when it comes to a transaction where shareholders are agreeing, they first of all discuss and see, because how do we go to Kenyans and tell them that we intend to start a discussion with Vodacom? It can jeopardize the discussion and the agreement, because this is a financial transaction, and financial transactions are very sensitive, by the way. They are very nature. In fact, capital market is a very sensitive market. You have to be very cautious. Remember, the American economy was almost brought down by capital market, the turbulence in the capital market. So we have to be very careful. And the law requires, or the procedure requires, that once you negotiate and discuss and you have some offer on the table, then you communicate to the Kenyan people. And that communication was done promptly, and I took charge as the person leading our national treasury and held a press conference. In fact, that was not a requirement, but I did hold it so that this message could go to Kenyans clearly that this is the intention of the government. Then now, immediately we did that, and of course with the approval of the cabinet. We did that. Then the next step was to communicate the same to the National Assembly, which I did promptly. And then after doing that, now the National Assembly has taken over the process. And the public participation process has kicked in. 2 days ago, you saw an advert from the National Assembly inviting and communicating to Kenyans that we are going to have a process of public engagement, public participation, public hearings to hear from Kenyans. And then this process will take about 30 days, where Kenyans now have opportunity to raise concerns with all issues they have, including the ones you are asking. And then I will be invited to the National Assembly to respond to Kenyans. And it will be in the public glare, because parliamentary proceedings are usually covered in public. And then people of Kenya will be able to make a decision following what I will submit in response to their questions. And then Parliament, which is a House of People's Representatives, will then, National Assembly for that matter, will therefore take a decision on this matter. Once the decision is taken, then the government is now given the go-ahead. Or if they reject, then that is the end of it. But if National Assembly approves, then the government will move a step further and now execute the transaction. And there again, we will now put pen to paper, and the details will be firmed up, and everything will be concluded. And then the next step will now be to receive the money from Vodacom, and then we will again report. The requirement by law is that we report not only to the National Assembly, but we report to the Auditor General, report to Controller Budget, and report to Commission on Revenue. And
if it's all improved at the Parliament stage.
Actually, without the approval in Parliament, we can't execute. The third stage will be execution. So execution will now involve the actual execution or implementation of this transaction. Then whatever we will have done, including the receipts of the money and where it is taken, must be reported. That is the requirement. That is the final stage. And it will be reported to different organs. One of them is a National Assembly, the Controller of Budget, Auditor General, and also the Commission on Revenue Allocation. But something else that I wanted to also point out that I was forgetting. At this stage, apart from the National Assembly, we have other oversighting institutions like CMA, Central Bank. They are already involved in this exercise, this transaction, to see if whatever we are doing follows the law and is in compliance with our regulatory framework. So it is a very elaborate process which has just kicked off. That's why I get a bit surprised when I hear knowledgeable leaders standing on podium and saying Kenyans have not been involved, there's no public participation. This is the time for public participation. So whoever has anything for or against, for improvement or for rejection, should now channel their concerns the right way, not speaking in churches or in funerals. Churches are left for spiritual nourishment, not to discuss economic issues.
Was it the offer that has been given? I would see the country get around 204 billion shillings, right?
Yes.
And this is a process that you say took around 60 days of just going through the process and understanding everything.
Yes.
And one would ask the question then, why? What's the reasoning behind a selling of the shares and getting the 204 billion shillings that would be injected into the economy to do what?
Now, there is the rationale behind this transaction. If you allow me, I would just spend a few minutes just to explain. You see, Dennis, we must admit that for our economy to create job opportunities to our youth, which is our biggest concern at the moment, is we still require heavy investment in infrastructure projects. And we need a growth of not less than 7% GDP growth. If we are still growing at 5% or below, like it happened last year, I don't think we'll be able to create enough jobs to match the number of youths who are coming out of our colleges and other training institutions. Therefore, we need heavy investment in infrastructure. You can only invest in infrastructure. For example, we have challenges with our roads still. The roads leading to our major markets in the region are still not in good condition. The road leading to Uganda, which is our major trading partner, is not in good condition. In terms of ease of doing business, you can take a whole day on the road between Nairobi and Malava. And the same with Namanga. It gets crowded. And many other roads. Look at Thika Road, the way it has become. It used to be a major highway, but now the traffic is just too much. And many others. We have issues with energy sector. One of the reasons why investors are shying away sometimes from investing in Kenya is because of A, cost of energy, 2, reliability of it. We must add more megawatts to the grid for reliability and cost cutting to promote and support investment. I would go to another sector of irrigation. We cannot continue relying on rain-fed agriculture. We must get dams and we must irrigate or get to irrigated agriculture. Lastly, our airport, look at the way it is. We tried the PPP model, Adani didn't work. Now, this infrastructure require heavy funding. Where do we get that money? There are options. Option A is to come for your money, the salary that you
There's none left.
and other taxes. I don't think you have any other money left to give us. And in fact, if anything, you want us to reduce the tax rates. So that is not, tax hike is not an option. Then the other option is to borrow more. Again, that is not an option because right now we are spending close to 50% of our taxes in debt servicing. So what is the other option left? Other more innovative, creative ways. Now we have mature value assets, value investments. Government, again, I want to repeat, is not in the business of doing business. The government should facilitate businesses. By the way, we are not supposed to be depending on dividend. Dividend is not the income stream that the government should rely on. Government should get taxes and implement projects. As a matter of fact, every business, including your kiosk, the government owns almost 30% of it, whether you like it or not, because we tax it. Therefore, what we need to do is to create an economy where the private sector invests resources, and out of those resources, they make huge profits. We have an economy which would allow the private sector to make big profits, and the profits then would give us taxes. Now, let me conclude by saying this. Having assessed that and having realized that we need resources to do this infrastructure for our economic takeoff, therefore we must look for seed money. And that is why we are looking at those assets which are mature enough, which can be taken to the market, and we raise some money, put in an investment vehicle, which we are calling National Infrastructure Fund. Now, this National Infrastructure Fund will be a limited liability company, which will be formed under the government-owned enterprises bill, which we have just passed. Now, this company will be the one now charged with the responsibility of helping to crowd in the private sector investment into the public infrastructure projects, like the institutional investors, pension funds, insurance funds, and other individuals who have resources to come and invest here. This fund will help to de-risk the investment in the public infrastructure project. So crowding in resources. If we have, for example,
so it's like Kenya's old crowdfund, Kenya's own personal crowdfunding model.
Yes.
What are we looking at here is that you would then follow the example of what you likely would be doing with Safaricom, whereby if there's government stake to be divested, then you continue adding to this fund where you can then take from to cover some of these infrastructure projects. Am I right?
So you are right. What we are looking at is those investments which we can divest into, raise funds. We are putting as seed capital into this company. Once you put money there, then the responsibility of this company will be extensive. It is not just having the money. The design of projects, the fundraising for the projects, the implementation of the projects will now be given to this company, because again, private capital fears bureaucracy. If you subject them to government bureaucracy, they will take off. So what you do is you have money, and I will give you an example. For example, you want to implement a project that would cost you 100 billion shillings. Now, that project, it can be designed, the costing is done, the profitability of it is calculated, and it is found to be commercially viable. So what happens is that this fund will now commit, say, 20% into this investment, and then that will be attractive to other players. The institutional investors would now then come, one gives 20, another 30%, 40%, and then they invest collectively. So it is a remodeling of the PPP concept.
So what happens to ministries who have been given in part this responsibility all along anyway? What happens to them? Or does this fund then now take money and give to each of these ministries? I'm going somewhere with this question. What happens to them who have the job of doing this very thing? There's an entire ministry of industry and trade who has a job of looking at investments and applying them in different areas. How does this work with those?
I will explain to you. First, these ministries will be left with two things. Number one, we are taking away from these ministries commercially viable projects, implementation of the same. Like if it is roads, the roads that can be tolled and dualed and tolled would be taken away. The dams that can be done, which are commercially viable, will be taken away. Energy projects, in terms of generation, transmission, will be taken away to be implemented by this company. Now, these ministries will remain to do policies around the transport or whatever sector, but again, they will still be left with the non-commercially viable projects. There are roads in the rural areas, there are roads which you cannot toll. Those roads are still going to be executed by the line ministries. But those which are commercially viable will be done commercially, and in the sense will be run and executed with that business mind.
So who handles, who controls, who manages this infrastructure fund, which ostensibly will be holding huge amounts of funds based on what you're saying? Who handles that?
We are forming a company. And so this company will be run professionally and with a business mind. If you look at the details of the Government-Owned Enterprises Act now, you can see we are actually shifting away from a system where government-owned enterprises, including the ones that are commercially viable, those who are making profit like APC, they were still being run with heavy government presence. And even the appointments to the board, the management structure, the governance structure was so government heavy. And that was compromising the professionalism in terms of running this business.
You seem to be admitting at some level, Waziri, that government is unable to carry out things professionally. And so this must be removed and given to a private entity to then control things, which money then goes back to government.
But no, that is a reality. The government has no technical expertise to run businesses. In fact, the bureaucracy in government, the world over, there is no government that is efficient in doing business, because all governments are bureaucratic. There is no government that is not bureaucratic. So even in terms of decision making, it is a challenge. Who would want to invest or do business with a system where you take 2 months, you are still pushing paper from left, right, and center? So if you have to carry out an economic activity, you must reduce government presence. Take, for example, Safaricom. If it continued the way it was in the before 2008, Safaricom would probably just be making 2-3 billion in a year, and we would be still very comfortable. We would be saying today that, look, this is a jewel. It is giving us dividend of 3 billion shillings per year. But look, with 35% shareholding, we have been getting about 16 billion dividend per year. And with 20% shareholding, because we are allowing more private sector participation, and Vodacom may, from the way they are communicating, invest even more resources in this company. And with 20%, we may end up even making over 10 billion. Look at what Vodacom has just announced. They have said that even the dividend that you're giving us in advance, chances are that they may recoup it in 2-3 years, meaning they're already projecting higher profits. So you need private sector participation in business-oriented enterprises.
Is that why you gave it to Vodafone, or is that why the decision is leaning towards just Vodacom as a sole buyer, as it were, as opposed to ponying up these shares to the general public who, own some of the shares in the first place? Why didn't we see that it was opened up for more people in that decision already?
A number of reasons. Number one, Vodacom as a company has history with this company, Safaricom PLC. They have been in this space for some time. They understand the company, they understand the business. They can take more risk than any other new player coming in. Two, it would have not been prudent to offer this company or the more shares to the public for a number of reasons. Reason number A, that share prices of this, the share price of Safaricom today in the Nairobi Securities Exchange is way below the price that we got. And so if you took it to the market, chances are that you are going to get it as even a discount of the current share price, because you are offloading more shares, meaning when you offload more shares, clearly you are creating more supply of shares as opposed to the demand, which is constant, I assume. So then the prices would even come down. Three, already we have another active company that we are soon giving out to the public. That is the Kenya Pipeline Company. If you again put in another asset, it would be saturating the market. So it was not a good idea. Lastly, there is also benefit in selling, or rather divesting the shares to Vodacom, because even the way it will be paid, they will be paying us in hard currencies, as opposed to if you sold or if you offloaded the shares to the domestic market. And the hard currency has the benefit of improving and increasing our forex reserves, which again would help us in stabilizing the shilling further. So in terms of economic fundamentals and economic decision, it makes more sense in making this decision to move this direction.
Waziri, you said that the government has no business in making profit. It's there in doing development and making sure that things like infrastructure is a reality. But even while at that, the company that you're saying that is being formed that will oversee the infrastructure fund, one asks the question, at the end of the day, the government still has a stake in it, still has a hand in it. That is correct, right?
Yes.
But the biggest problem that the country has continued to face years on end, you look at companies like the KPC, the KCCs that we've had, good companies that have been performing well, but there is always that problem of corruption. So even with this company that now is being formed, what guarantees are there that it would not end up like the companies the government has had before?
This company that is being formed, first, we must ensure as a government that the method of and the process of bringing people into the governance structure of the company is transparent and one that is professionally executed, so that we get the right people. Because again, what will set this company apart from the rest is if it is managed prudently and efficiently. And you need that, because otherwise we would not be able to realize our objective of having serious infrastructure development in this country. We need a company that is going to have a mindset of execution with a business mind. So that's the process of constituting the company, and we are working on that already. The company constitution, governance structure, and the framework to help it execute its function must be above board.
So you see the company that you talk about, because when you talk about corruption, there is the fact that what we're talking about today, you find these companies are owing Kenyans. You talk about pending bills from these companies, suppliers have been there, and Kenyans have not been paid. And this company that you're forming, one would hope that it would not end there. But wanna see us as we talk, let's talk about pending bills, 500 and something billion shillings that Kenyans have not been paid, supplied services and goods, they've not been paid. What's the plan?
So first of all, let me debunk the idea that this company may end up with this unpaid. This company is not going to execute business in the normal way of having about government budget, procurement process, and we come and bid, and no, that is not it. This company's sole objective is to get these infrastructure projects out of the budget. The funding will be done by private players who already have the money and putting in. And after that, the project will pay itself. So that is the focus of this company. It's not a company that will be bidding against other companies for government projects. That's not it. But now coming back to your question of pending bills. Pending bills has been a challenge. And by the way, some of these pending bills date back to 2005. They are not pending bills of yesterday. And it is not something that you can fix in a day. So we have gone through the verification, and the committee has already compiled a report, and that report reduced the pending bills payable to about 240 billion. I think finally the figure may be 250, because they are supposed to give me the final report by the end of this month, when their term is finally coming to an end. Now, already we have paid close to more than 80 billion shillings, because part of that pending bill was relating to the road sector, and we, through securitization, raised funds, which we paid 80% of the bills so far, 40. Right now, I think this week or next week, they will clear the remaining 20%. So almost 100% of the pending bills under the road sector will have been cleared, as at the time, I think December 2024, right? So, going backwards. Now, the other bills, we are working on a cabinet memo to present to the cabinet on how then we deal with about 155 billion shillings of pending bills relating to other sectors of the economy. And this will help us move the economy forward. But you can see this, the effect and the signs of reducing pending bills by the government, all right? Especially in the road sector. If you read this paper that I have here, there's a Business Daily, it's telling you the report of November is clearly indicating that the non-performing loans have drastically dropped from the month of August, September, October, November now. The non-performing loans, means the loans that were not being serviced in the bank, have dropped. What does that tell you? It tells you that there's some liquidity that has come into the market, that the contractors and the suppliers who have not been paid over the years are now getting paid. And so they are reducing their debt liability with the banks. You can see the bank rates have fallen drastically. You have seen even the uptake in this report of November, the highest increase in credit to private sector has been recorded in 19 months, which is today 6.3. Remember, early this year, there was a contraction. There was a decline in credit to the private sector. It was growing at negative 2.9. But today, it is growing. In the month of November, credit to private sector grew to 6.3%, which is a very high percentage. And that tells you clearly that the economy is picking up. You know, you will hear people talking a lot about other things. We are not feeling money in our pockets. It's all well. You will hear the opposition speaking negatively about the government, that nothing is happening. But what is the reality? The reality is that the bank rates have fallen, right? In 1 year ago, the average bank lending rate was 17.2. Today it has fallen below 15%, it's 14.9, and it is continuing to come down. That is how to improve the economy. That is how to get money into people's pockets. Because if you can go to the bank and borrow cheaply, that is what you want. And that is money that will go to the private sector and expand businesses, expand companies, and they will offer employment to our people.
Because we do know that one of the sure ways of making sure that an economy grows is by putting support behind the private sector.
Exactly.
Like you so well said, government is not in the business of doing business.
Correct.
Interesting that you should say so, because we still do know that one of the greatest impediments towards these processes being seen and actually being felt is corruption. And that we often make connections between countries who've developed, but one of the things that they did do was reduce on corruption. This 244 billion shillings that would be gotten from the divestiture of these Safaricom shares of government ownership actually equates to the amount of money that in a year would be recovered from acts of corruption. That's equal to the amount of money In fact, the corruption money that is gotten, according to reports, is more than this money that would be made from the sale of these shares by government. So it seems to me that perhaps the focus really need to lean heavily on ridding the corruption holes in the country. Why is the attention not being put there as much as we should?
That's correct, no, but we are doing both. You know, let me tell you, how do you fight corruption? By making it difficult. Because first, I am cabinet secretary in charge of National Treasury. I'm not a police officer. So what would I be doing? I would put up systems that would make corruption difficult. We have identified sources of corruption in this country, and one of them, and the leading, which is contributing, according to assessment, almost 70% of corruption activities in the country is procurement. And that is why we are insisting in implementing a more transparent system that is e-procurement. You can see the pushback. You can see the fights. In fact, some are very brazen, and they will tell you that you are closing all the taps for us. I have shared with many leaders, you can't believe, in fact, how Kenyans can be interesting in the way they even communicate about corruption. It doesn't bother them. They will tell you, what is this you are doing to us? You are just closing the taps for us. I said, exactly, that is what I'm doing. So, e-procurement is going to help us reduce the level of corruption significantly. Another reform that we have just implemented this year, and in fact, the year 2025 has been the year of reforms. The other one is on Treasury single account. I will tell you, you can't believe, Dennis, what I see. A lot of, by twinning the invoices, I don't know whether you understand that, a lot, I would repeat, a lot of requests for payment coming to us are invoices that are supposed to be paid a second time, even a third time. So we have been having cases where we pay invoices multiple times. That is the country we live in. And so that is something that Treasury Single Account is sorting out now. And there are so many institutions fighting back that because they have been used to getting corruptly public funds, and they take it like it's a right now. So with the implementation of e-procurement, which I think in the next financial year will be 100%. This year it had challenges, but I'm happy that it is picking up. Many procuring entities have embraced this, including some counties, including even far-flung universities like Garissa University, embracing e-procurement. If we completely embrace e-procurement in government, we comply with that one, we must. The Treasury Single Account, no option. Actually, I have already implemented that together with my team at the National Treasury. There is also the integration of the payroll. The human resource management system is also weeding out the ghost workers and any double or multiple pays, and also making sure that there is discipline in the management of cash, where if money has been requested, if for example, on the issue of the human resource, once you have requested money to pay NSSF, NHI, and other deductions, they go direct to those SHA, NSSF, pay as you are to a KRA. All this money will automatically be transmitted to this institution, so that we will not have a case where you retain people's salary and misuse it or apply it elsewhere. On the Treasury Single Account, if you now requisition money to pay supplier X, you cannot use that money again to pay Y. We have been having cases of voiding those transactions. Once the request is made, the controller of budget has already approved, the money hits the account and is diverted and paid to someone else by voiding the one who was supposed to receive the money. And then you can get invoices paid even 3 times. So those are some of the measures and the reforms that we have brought to deal with corruption. So it cannot be said that we are doing nothing about corruption.
Waziri, you see, when you talk about the economy doing well, which rightfully so falls in your purview, right? Yours is to ensure that we are thriving as a country.
Yes.
And with that, then one would would go forward and ask the question, when it comes to matters to do with the manufacturing, how are we looking at that? When you look at the products that we do provide in terms of value addition, how are we approaching that? Because at the end of the day, any nation that has developed to get to that state of a developed nation, manufacturing and value addition to their products become center, and conversations that are held on a daily basis. We have our coffee, we have our tea, we are doing exploration on our oil, fuel and all that. What are we doing? What are some of the policies that you are pushing to ensure that that which Kenya must produce for us to export and not import back is done? What conversations are we having towards that?
That's correct. In fact, there's no economy which can grow and attain a first world status without attending to its manufacturing sector, because no economy can grow on the primary raw materials exportation and all that. So Kenya is not an exception, and therefore I would agree with you that our manufacturing sector has been sluggish. In fact, late last year, our manufacturing sector was growing at a negative, but it has picked up, though at a slower pace than what we want. It's now growing at about 2%, and we want manufacturing sector to grow at least 7.6%. Then that would create more job opportunities. So we are laying the foundation for value addition. I know we have revived, or rather improved, the tea sector. The coffee sector has been revived. The pyrethrum sector is being revived. But we are now working on the value addition, or the value add. And that is why you can see a commitment on the county integrated industrial parks, aggregated industrial parks, the KIPES. We want to go to the local economy, because if you want to really add value, you have to do it at the grassroots. And almost all counties, a lot of them, the parks are at very advanced stages. We are trying to blend their money. We are matching the county's resources with the national government resources to complete these projects, and some of them are going to be completed this financial year. Some will come the following financial year. So that is value addition at that level. We are also attracting investment by improving the environment, and a lot of the legal framework, the finance bill, touched on a number of taxes to allow or to attract foreign investment into our space. And you can see Kenya has been now rated as as the best investment decision in Africa because of the decisions that we are taking, one of which is economic performance. So gradually we are moving to that, to enhanced manufacturing sector participation in our economy. But we are also not leaving behind other sectors like mining and quarrying and minerals, which was doing very poorly by the end of last year again, but it has picked up. It was growing again at a negative of 2.9%, I think. Now, in the first quarter of this year, it grew at over 5%, and then the second quarter it grew at 10.1%. That was because we injected some support to the mining industry of about 2.6 billion. So with that investment, you can see the results, and even the construction sector also has picked up very well. So we are working on all the sectors of economy with more focus and attention on the manufacturing sector. Yeah.
So of those two things that are very clear that need to happen for an economy to grow is the number one, which we've looked at, I mean, very lightly at the top, which is corruption. We make the parallels, and in this case I'll call you CPA, we make the parallels between countries that have moved to developed from developing. And one of the first things is that they have really tightened the screws on corruption, and then they've made sure that they're selling for profit. Just like you said, in the manufacturing, they make and sell for profit to the outside world. One of the things that will also continue to stifle Kenya is its debt. The amount of money, because you oversee these payments every day, possibly, that any money that hits the consolidated account, first of all, goes towards paying debt to the tune of almost 70% of income. How then will we see that this money that you're getting from now shares of companies will not also go towards paying debt first? How will you operate a purely independent company without looking at the stifling debt that Kenya is struggling under, which we know Kenya can only take a loan for development, but we have not seen development commensurate to the debt that Kenya owes, almost 12 trillion shillings at the moment. And we are hard pressed to see what development projects, because we know that legally Kenya can only take this money for development. We are hard pressed to find projects commensurate to 12 trillion shillings in Kenya in the last 20 years. How do we explain that? And how can you assure Kenyans? Because I think to an extent, Waziri, you need to do that. How do you assure Kenyans that these monies, 240 billion from Safaricom, KPC, however much that might be, other companies then that are earmarked for this thing to go to this fund, will go towards the development that you speak about, and that we can see it?
First of all, I want Kenyans to have confidence, because the way we are structuring this fund, it is not going to be spent on anything else apart from infrastructure development, and not just infrastructure, commercially viable public infrastructure projects. That is the bottom line. We will not even take it to do a road in Soba, which is not commercially viable, that cannot pay itself back. We are going to spend it on projects which can be commercialized, projects where we can get revenue to pay back to this fund again, because this fund must be a revolving fund with the resources that are not drying up. So that is, in fact, at 8, do you remember we were supposed to have this engagement from 7 to 8?
Yeah.
At 8, I have a meeting, we have a very important meeting, and we are meeting the head of state just to discuss the progress we are making in terms of forming this company and in terms of progressing this national infrastructure fund forward. It will not be used for anything else apart from developing infrastructure. The only portion that may be taken or hived off this fund will go to sovereign wealth fund. So we are thinking of a small percentage going to sovereign wealth fund. And why? Because when we offload shares in our public assets, we need to preserve and release a portion of it to the future generation. So that is the only thing we are going to entertain here. This money will and cannot be used for debt repayment. The debt is consuming about 50% of our ordinary revenue as a percentage, and it is already choking, I would say, and it's accepted. But we will still continue to pay debt from our revenue collections. The only thing that maybe in future will help us from this fund to pay debts is if it spurs economic growth, and so that we collect more taxes. By doing these roads, by doing these dams, by doing airport and all this, there will be economic re-engineering of our economy, and that will mean that we will now be collecting more taxes, and they will be collecting more taxes and paying now the debts easily, or even now at a lower percentage, because there will be a bigger pie. There will be more revenue coming into a revenue stream. But we will not directly use the proceeds of privatization or divestiture of government to pay loans or even to pay other recurrent expenses.
Waziri, the debt that you say is choking Kenyans today, many say it is choking Kenyans because the money has been stolen. And one of the ways that you as Waziri, who is in charge of overseeing the debt repayment of this, one would ask the question, if these monies were stolen, why isn't Treasury, the government of Kenya, pushing to ensure that those who stole the monies are brought to book, they pay this money, so that Kenyans are not choked in paying this debt? Are we looking at heads rolling for those who've stolen this money to end up in jail?
You know, there could be a number of reasons why the debt that we have we are finding it difficult to pay. One is could be there was corruption in the implementation of some of these projects.
Budgeted.
And, yes.
Yep.
Which, again, we have institutions which have the mandate to follow through. And A, we have the Auditor General to come up with a report. B, we have the National Assembly and the Senate to oversight and make recommendations. We have ESCC, we have DCI. And so the role of National Treasury is to put in place systems that would deter. It is not really the work of CS National Treasury to go after people who have stolen money. Now, second, there could also be a reason why, and I will explain to you another reason why we could be finding it hard to pay our debts, is because we invested these debts, or the money that we collected, the proceeds, into long-term infrastructure projects, some of which are taking too long, would take too long, and that is the practice, to pay back or have serious economic impact on the economy. And so that one is why we are now taking off some of these projects out of the normal budgetary process, because the loans that we take, some of them are short term. Even the bilateral loans that we took, some of them are 7-year loans, and you are investing in a project that would take 30 years to pay back to the economy. It's not prudent to support or finance such projects using loan money. You now need to go to another model, and that's why we are going to this model where an investor will come in, and these are institutional investors which need constant stream of money even for 50 years, because they will be paying their pensioners, they will be paying insurance claims and all that. So they can put money in, which will take 30 years to recover in a staggered, more systematic way. So the mistake that I think we made as a country around 2013, 2014 coming up was that we decided to do so many infrastructure projects with loan and long-term infrastructure projects, which take long for them to have clear impact on the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you say there's budgeted corruption, which we know that there is already, we know there's budgeted corruption. That has been the practice. It's difficult for Kenya to pay its loans. Long-term infrastructure projects for which money has been provided has not been completed. We're talking about 10, 15 years. Money has been provided in terms of borrowing of these loans for these projects to start, to progress, and to be completed. This has not happened. The mystery around all of this, and we're going to go back to where we started from, is that if we're looking at a company which is going to be commercially viable, the mystery here, Waziri, is who is this person? Who are these people? Because unless they come from outside Kenya, who are these people who are going to run, manage, and control this fund, which, according to what you're saying, at some point may get into the trillions of shillings? Who will run it in a manner in which it will be watertight and above board, that will not go back in the direction of this budgeted corruption? Money has been taken, projects unfinished, and due diligence unable to be followed. Who is this person? Who is this entity that's going to do this, that government trusts enough to do a thing that itself has been unable to do? You can imagine where the jitters are coming from.
Yeah, so it is true that there have been some budgeted corruption. That's why we are changing our model of budgeting into zero-based budgeting. We are now insisting, and the budget that we are working on today has been based on zero-based budget. We had sector engagement in Mombasa. Each State Department must justify every shilling that they are requesting from the National Treasury, as opposed to previously when we were doing incremental budgeting. Also, the issue that you have raised regarding some of the commitments that we make with our development partners, the money we start paying and the project has not even kicked off. We are again dealing with that because we are addressing the question of the all donor-funded projects. There are a number of reasons. I don't want to go into the details why we have been having challenges, yet we start paying commitment fees on projects that have not even kicked off. So we are working on that. The Office of the Deputy President is coordinating that engagement with the development partners. My office is also coordinating the technical aspects, and we have had 3 meetings with development partners to just thrash out and deal with these challenges of implementation of donor-funded projects. Now, to come back to your question of who is this person. Now, let me put it this way. We want this company to be professionally run. And therefore, the people who are going to be put in this company must be people of integrity, must be people who are competent enough to run this entity. And where I don't want to agree with you is that where you are saying unless we bring people who are not Kenyans. By the way, there are Kenyans who do fantastic job.
Absolutely. And that's the hope, Waziri, that there will be people who have not been connected to these projects in the past. And that there will be people who we know are above board with no connection to the processes that already exist. That's the fear.
That is where I am saying we must get the right people in this company in this space. This fund must be run professionally. I was telling you about Kenyans. Look at the companies around this space. Many of them are making huge profits, doing very well. Safaricom is one of them, led by Kenyans, Safaricom PLC. We have KCB is doing very well, Coop Bank, all these banks, Equity Bank, these are all run. Look at how Equity has expanded, and it is run and managed by Kenyans. I mean, if you get the right people, the right Kenyans. In fact, Kenya as a country in Africa is leading in terms of human capital. True. You can probably just compare it with a few, like maybe Ghana. Kenya is fantastic in terms of our human resource capacity. And that is actually has been our strength, which is even attracting direct foreign investment. So we have the people. It's only that the identification of these people has been a challenge. Sometimes we use tribal lenses, sometimes we use vested interest. We need to allow the right Kenyans, regardless of where they're coming from, not to talk about other parameters like shareholding. Let us accept that we can bring in the right people. And so what we should be judged on is the process of constituting this company and bringing people onto it is where Kenyans now should subject us to scrutiny, to just say, oh, wait a minute, this guy doesn't have the background of running serious business. We have Kenyans who have run, and we can poach. We can even headhunt and get the right people into this company. But by the way, there are so many Kenyans, some of them are very reputable, who have started expressing interest that they would want to do this. But we are going to have a system that is foolproof to get people on board.
Waziri, as we talk about this company that will be foolproof, that will run in the way Kenyans expect, one would equally say that we want as well the companies that the government has, these are the companies that are not run well, to be fixed. Because whether we like it or not, these companies as well will be here, and they must perform to the levels that we expect. So as we work on putting up this company that will be run professionally, perhaps we also look inwards and say, we are not leaving these ones behind, because they are part and parcel of the entire ecosystem that will spur the economic growth that we look forward as Kenya, perhaps.
Exactly, and that is what we are doing. Remember, we are doing so many things. Maybe we were just talking about Safaricom. There is a whole question of SOE reforms, the state-owned enterprise, something that has been pending for years. At least this government now is implementing it. First, remember, we just passed a government-owned enterprise bill, which is now Government-Owned Enterprise Act. We have taken off, or we are taking off, about 60 or so state-owned enterprises which are commercially viable. To taking their management, we are even removing them from line ministries and making them be more managed from the National Treasury, because National Treasury, the Cabinet Secretary, owns assets on behalf of Kenyans. So, but beyond that, we have even improved. The constitution of boards is not now in commercially viable state-owned enterprises. It's no longer going to be done the way it has been done, where a cabinet secretary just makes appointments. There is going to be a process of identifying, even doing the shortlisting, doing the interviews. This is going now to be done to get the board members, as opposed to what it is today, where people have been saying we are using them as political rewards. Well, there's nothing really wrong with politicians also holding position. I'm also have a background in politics, and I'm here, and I believe I can do something because I have gone to school, I have a professional experience and all that. But then, that shouldn't be the only guiding principle or judgment, that because you have been an MP here, whatever there, then that for you, we have to reward you by giving you appointment. So there is definitely a change in the governance structure of government-owned. We now call them government-owned enterprises. That is the commercially viable ones. Then the rest also, we are even merging. Remember, we used to have tourism promotion fund and tourism. We are merging those funds together, and many, many others. There are so many parastatals which are being collapsed now. Some we have already effected. Today, we only have one tourism fund, nothing else, from October. And many other parastatals which we have merged. Some we have even removed from being parastatals because there is no basis of them. So we are restructuring the state-owned enterprises, something that took several governments years and they never did, and we are now doing it and we are implementing it. Why are we doing that? To cut on cost and pressures on our exchequer. which some of them are ridiculous. You hear of some parastatals you have never heard of, and they are there consuming public resources. Some of them I had not had. It was the first time I was hearing about them. So we are doing a number of reforms in the state-owned enterprises.
Okay. When we look at unfinished projects, they are gobbling up quite a lot in terms of money that has gone in, but they can't come out. There are some counties that have unfinished projects in the hundreds.
Yeah.
And then we see many things happening at the same time where counties also have accounts in the tens. But then what happens in terms of oversight to ensure that this money that has gone into this project brings out a result? These are some of the things that we look at that affect the economy. And I know that you talked about the fact that people are crying because there's no money in their pockets. Waziri, that's the truth. The cost of living conversation is a conversation that, if not had by government in terms of how it's going to make life just a little bit better for Kenyans, then I think we're doing a huge injustice to Kenyans. That Kenyans have to worry about how they will treat their sick. Kenyans have to worry that, you may not know this, but their modus operandi is a meal a day, not 3. That children are worried about parents are worried about how they will send children to school. That we are doing harambes every minute for people who are unwell. So whereas we may crunch the numbers on the top from a financial point of view, the micro reality is that there are millions of Kenyans who are not able to see the projection or live that projection. So one would imagine that when you're crunching the numbers or pressing the formula, that the result is that Kenyans are doing a little bit better every day, but it seems to be going in the opposite direction. What is a simple answer that will realize more money in the pocket of Kenyans, more food on their table, or at least the ability to drive a process that then does these things? What's the simple answer to that?
So, to address your question around the projects that have stalled or not taking off, it is all about budgetary discipline, and this is at the national and at the county levels. Now, at the national government level, we are working on curing this first before it cascades to the counties, because you can't start with someone before you start with yourself. Now, at the national level, we are insisting now on zero-based budget, and we are also insisting on realistic budget revenue projections, because that is one reason why we have been accumulating or rather having stalled projects. And we are also insisting that before you propose new projects, you must have a strategy on how to complete the ongoing projects. So all that is being addressed at the national government level. That is the only way to deal with it. And then I hope this will cascade in counties. Counties have this tendency of projecting. They put expenditure first, then because they know this is the shareable revenue, the remaining deficit they lump onto own source revenue, which they know they will not even collect, and so they start implementing projects where they don't even have money in the first place. That is hence accumulation of pending bills, and also the problem that we have of incomplete projects or uncompleted projects. Now, to answer your question on the cost of living, how do we deal with the cost of living and having people having money in their pockets? It is a multi-pronged approach. One is, first, you must create employment to our people. Because the biggest challenge we have, and I'm sure you also face it, maybe because I know you are here, and my friend then is here. A few of us who are earning salary, so many people depend on us, because you have your brother, your sisters who has left school with the degree, some 2, some 3, and they have nothing. And so you have to step in to assist them. I do step in to assist my sibling, my people who are close to me. And if each one of us was having something to do, we would reduce that pressure of black tax. That is one thing that is making us have less now to spend on ourselves. And then you feel the pressure and you say you have no money in your pocket. The other thing, so creating jobs is one way, and I've spoken to that. The other way to deal with it is also to enhance disposable income. I know that there has been a beating, or rather some hit on our disposable income, especially from 2023 and coming up. You remember we had some relief and reprieve during COVID, and many of us thought that would continue. Then that came down, and then there are some tax increases from 2023, and the tax increases was not out of nothing. Really, we had pressure with our debts repayment. Either we had the option of failing or defaulting in debt. If we did, we would not have economy even to complain about. We'd have nothing. The Kenya would just have gone to the dogs. But then we have tried to manage a bit to reduce that pressure. If you look at what we did with the Tax Laws Amendment Act of 2024, December, there was some reprieve that we gave. And even the last finance bill, especially for those of you working in the private sector, there are certain things that public sector was enjoying and you are not enjoying in terms of tax allowable benefits. That we did. And the pension, something like pension, we have excluded from taxation, and even what do you call it, gratuity. So we are working. In fact, the thinking of the government based on the tax policy, the national tax policy, is that we reduce the tax rates, and including even corporation tax, or the corporate tax. So all this we are doing to make life better. But something last that I would say. To make life better for Kenyans, you need to reduce interest rates in the bank, because that is how then the private sector would get money, expand employment, even increase people's salary, because an employer who has squeezed resources would not give you even a salary increment. So we are, look, you can see, and the evidence is there that the bank interest rates are coming down. And then again, let me point out that people have been saying that things are just out of hand. It is not entirely correct, because I've told you about Purchasing Managers Index. That is what measures the people's purchasing power. Kenyans are purchasing more. That is the fact. From August, September, October, November. If we continue in that trajectory going forward, then we will have more liquidity in the market. Lastly, the government has been trying to make sure that the cost of living does not increase or rise exponentially to an untenable level. And that is why the cost of food, the government has invested in agriculture to make sure that we have food. We are also talking that and speaking to the fact that we cannot continue over-relying on rain-fed agriculture. Look at the way the weather projection is being made today. We are likely to have depressed rains. So we need to move to irrigated agriculture. Therefore, in which case, food will be cheap. And sugar has now been, the prices of sugar has been maintained because we have reduced the importation of sugar. And if we can continue that way, like now Bora scheme, about 50,000 acres is being put under sugarcane production. If we can be self-sufficient in sugar, self-sufficient in maize, rice, we are still importing about 700,000 bags of rice. If we can be self-sufficient in rice, self-sufficient in sugar, and edible oil, we improve on edible oil, we will reduce the food imports from 500 billion that we are spending per annum to even 100 billion, or even eliminate it completely, and even get to a net exporter of food, because we can.
So, I mean, lastly, Waziri, public participation for the Safaricom divestiture of government shares, where is that being held? How can people lend their voice to this, and how will that happen?
Yes, no, it is good you have asked that question. You know, sometimes I get really, is it interesting or baffled at the same time that Kenyans call for public participation when they should be doing public participation. Or sometimes they wait for public participation to end, then they ask you for public participation. Right now is the time for public participation. Parliament has already advertised. It was on the newspapers, I think on Monday. They asked for opinions, and there will be engagement. I think they gave even a itinerary of where the two committees of parliament will be engaging with the public. It is an opportunity. They have about 30 days. It's an opportunity now for Kenyans. And you can even do a written memorandum and submit it to parliament, to the National Assembly. But there was also public engagement, giving timetable on where the committees are supposed to engage with Kenyans. After that is when the National Assembly will now retreat and do their report. And they will invite me to appear before them to answer to the concerns of Kenya. So the time for public participation is now. Don't wait. Then after December, in January, around mid-January, then you start asking, why is it that we have not done public participation? This is the time for public participation. And part of public participation is what you are doing. You see, I'm here, seated here.
Yes.
I have answered so many questions. I am sure Kenyans are also sending you questions. That is what we call public participation. And they are listening to what I'm saying. Now they need to petition their legislators and tell them, from what we have heard from Bani, we support this, but these are our concerns. Why don't you raise it with them? And members of National Assembly, I hope and I believe, should be visiting their constituencies to listen to the people. And one of the things they should be asking their people when they visit, because I've been a member of parliament for 17 years, so I'm speaking about something that I know. Talk to your people, ask them. There is this question about Safaricom. What do you have to say about it?
Right.
At least hold one Barasa. If you want to be a good people's representatives, hold one Barasa with your constituents and ask them. It doesn't have to be everybody. The feeling and the thinking of people is usually uniform across. So just ask them about Safaricom. They will tell you their misgivings and their concern. Then you bring that concern to parliament.
To parliament and bring it to parliament.
Yes.
The CS National Treasury is CPA John Mbadi, and he's been here with us this morning. We've overshot our time, but necessary for some of those things to come in.
I want you to improve it a bit and say FCPA.
FCPA.
Yes.
Well, we can do that.
Thank you.
It's the CS in the National Treasury. FCPA John Mbadi has been here with us this morning. Thank you for being here. We look forward to these conversations. You will still come under pressure, so I'm sure that you have a tough skin to then be able to answer the questions that Kenyans have.
That's why I took the job.
Above board. Kabisa. Asante sana. At 17 minutes past 7. Thank you for being here. We look forward to the next. Asante.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who were initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary meeting, people went there, sat, listened, looked at him, there was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around. Why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu hawaulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje, kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Must do.
Like now, you abandon, of course, the narrative of Wheelbarrow, Mutomjengo, Mamamboga, and all those, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's in itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who are initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't, let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting, people went there, sat, listened, looked at him, there was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so that'll do it. It's 25 minutes after 7 o'clock this morning and getting into the 1.5 past. That's it. So we started things a little bit differently today, and we did look into conversations with the CS John Mbadi, FCPA, CS National Treasury, to look at some of these matters, which we know that still hold on the minds of Kenyans today. We'll look into that just a little bit because we're going to be hearing from you in terms of public participation. This is it, folks, and we can get into it. Let's start it off by, we're getting into the season where you're going to be sitting around with family and friends a lot more than usual. Folks are going to be talking about their plans for the future. They're going to be looking into what it is that they're doing, how they're setting their goals, and we see you doing that. You're kicking the can, not just down the road, but you're making it sure that it gets done. You're killing it. You're crushing your goals and you're making moves. But be honest with yourself for a second. Do you ever have that moment, that internal voice that says, everyone else has a plan, but me, I really need to get my act together? That feeling of needing to get your future locked down is real. But listen, getting a plan doesn't need to be intimidating or elitist. That's why I'm talking about ICEA Lion. They're cutting through the noise and making financial planning reliable and relatable. Whether you're just starting out or looking to secure a comfortable retirement, they have plans to help you build wealth, protect your assets, and prosper with retirement security. Stop worrying about the future and start planning for it. Get the easy personal plan that works for you. The question is, what's your plan? And you can find out more at icealion.co.ke. And we're still looking into the numbers, and some of those numbers are 19 and 45.
Yes, 19 for 1 hour, 45 for 3 hours. What are we talking about? We're talking about the Airtel Unlimited Fund Bundle that allows you to enjoy unlimited data at affordable prices. Now, this is Airtel telling you, for you to be able to be part of this process, just dial *544# or go to your My Airtel app that you can download on the App Store or the Google Play. And as well as, if you're not on Airtel line, you can go to the nearest Airtel shop and get yourself this line. Now, this is what Airtel is telling you. You want to be part of the process, part of the conversation, part of promises and deliverables as well. How do you do that? You need to sign up. There's no need of you wanting to be there but not there because data did that thing to you. Yeah. So be part of the conversation, *544# or go to your My Airtel app or buy the Airtel SIM card and be part of this conversation. Later, we'll be telling you how you are able to get 3,000 shillings courtesy of Airtel. Talk to us about your FOMO. What is this thing that you missed out and you might be the lucky winner?
Absolutely. And we are getting into the festive season. I think we're already there. Some folks are already wearing, the Christmas hat and doing all of that. As you want to get into the Christmas season, I'm going to ask you to trot on down to Sarit Centre. Feast, shop and jingle at Sarit this festive season. We started on the 20th of November. We're going through towards the 24th. Enjoy daily festive activities. You can meet and greet with Mr. and Mrs. Santa. Yes, you didn't know she exists. She does. Photo moments with the elves at Christmas decorations and fun appearances by Rudolph, he's the red-nosed reindeer, and surprise encounters with the Grinch. Make him smile if you can. Festive choral performances and spin the wheel for instant prizes. Earn points as you shop with the Sarit Loyalty app. Shop unique African gifts at the Maasai Market every Wednesday and Thursday, as in you can go today at the Sarit Centre, and you'll then be able to get those presents for folks that you want to do that for this Christmas season. Experience festive cheer and magical moments all season long, only at Sarit. That's what we're doing, and that's how we're doing it, folks.
Yes.
And there were certain conversations, public participation. This is an opportunity to test it and see if it actually works.
Yes.
We've been told that parliamentary committees will sit and they will discuss this issue. The CS John Mbadi will actually come before the parliamentary committee. This is an opportunity for you to actually make your voice heard and known in terms of, paper that you will send in and public participation. Sometimes we talk about public participation as though it's a cherry on top. It's actually the process, guys, that we always say, was the public participation? Did we? Well, here's an opportunity. Yes. How often, if I ask the question, if we did a poll right now and asked how many people have actually engaged in public participation in the county? Not just when there was impeaching the deputy president, not all people showing up all over the place as though it was a party, but in instrumental issues that affect your livelihood and that affect the things and processes that you'll be involved in the future. So here's one whereby, government is going to get quite a big deal amount of money. This is the first one that they're thinking about doing with Safaricom divestiture. And if this happens, that there will be a happy amount of funds to the tune of 244 billion shillings that will be put into a fund. And what we're being told is that this infrastructure fund, which will be a company of sorts, is then what is going to be responsible then for putting money out into certain infrastructure projects. And they will be the ones to see because, government can't. We've been told that as well. So here's your opportunity to say, if that's the case, I second it. Or I don't agree because of 1, 2, 3. Here is your chance to do it. We've been given permission as it were. And he said, this is public participation as well. What do you really think? And if you were to apply logical thought to this process, what would you say?
You see, question now is, we've said that public participation is the process, right? So here's the question. You have your area member of parliament who will be mandated to undertake this public participation. Now, how about in your constituency offices where your member of parliament will be coming? How about each and every single individual in all the 290 constituencies to walk to your constituency and demand a sit down with your member of parliament to share your feeling, your views on this process that is ongoing? Upon that meeting, then each and every single individual would say what it is they need. And even those in various areas that public participation, the venues that will be taking place, how about individuals in various counties, in various constituencies to rally themselves and be part of this process? Because we cannot afford to as well just sit down and ask later, where did this public participation start? If we all go to our constituency offices, talk to our members of parliament, share our views and our feelings about this divestiture that is ongoing, and extrapolate that to later when these venues come to where we are, we will participate in this process. I think it's about time that we as well are put on the line to participate, to show up and speak up.
Here's the opportunity to do so. We'll start it right here. And we know that there's stuff that will go down on government in records in terms of who said what before you take it then to your member of parliament. But what do you really think based on the information that you've been given? And here we are saying that a publicly listed company, the government shares up to the tune of 15% will be divested. And you use very fancy words to say that what they're doing is reducing the ownership of government in this private company. Interestingly, the majority shareholder in this company is the one who's going to buy off these shares that the government wants to sell. That's what we've looked at. Is that okay or not okay? A very simple question, guys. That somebody who is already the majority shareholder is going to give government money, is going to give you, Kenyans, money for the shares that you own in this company. And government is now going to take that money on your behalf as Kenyans and put it into infrastructure projects. Simply put, that is what is going to happen, according to what we have been told. Are you okay with that? We want you to tell us this morning. Are you okay with that? If you are not, why? If you are, and you're saying then they can go ahead with the processes in the way you think, this is what we are doing this morning. We want to hear from you in terms of how you think. Do you see something else? If so, speak it out. What are our numbers? 0732 142 650 or 0732 142 652. Talk to us this morning, and I'm going to repeat what it is because everybody's saying, no, don't sell Safaricom. What is happening is this, and I repeat, the government owns a certain percentage. Government being you. Shareholders' money is you. taxpayers' money is you. What they're doing is offloading, because the company has been profitable. So they're offloading this at 34 shillings per share, and they're going to be selling 6 point something billion odd shares. All right. This money will come to about 240 billion shillings. And with the extra money that we see coming in, it'll come to a total of about 244. What government has said is, look, we need to develop the country, right? That's the problem. And to fix this problem, the solution is we have some money sitting somewhere here. We want to sell this particular stake, and we want to use that money to develop the country. Sasa shida iko wapi?
Chenye tunataka ni pesa. Economy has to spur. And the only way to do that is to get into this kitty that we have that, according to government, is able to help us deal with things that are slowing the economy from growing. Remember, he says that for the economy to do well, we need to be growing at a rate of around 7%. Now we're doing 5 point something, you know. And the only way to do that is to deal with infrastructure that will then spur, we will help the economy grow. So should the government have asked you, first of all, tunataka kuuza, sasa mtupe permission? Or is now the current process that is ongoing what is as per the law? And what's your feeling about it? That's pretty much about it, because the shares that you're talking about, it's not the government of Kenya, it is your shares. As a Kenyan, as a citizen, what's your feeling on your shares being sold to recoup this money, to inject back into the economy for it to grow?
Yeah, we'll take your comments on socials as well, on YouTube, Facebook, and on X this morning. And we'll hear from you on our phone lines on 0732 142 650 or 0732 142 652. Well, here, I thought it was interesting that the CS said, you know what, government bureaucracy is... It's the red tape is just too much to cut through for us to then be able to get the things done that we need done. So the only way is to go to the private sector, form a company, then that is going to be able to do that. If that is not a heavy indictment on the fact that people are going... By the way, government is the highest employer. We have most people working for government. If that's not a heavy indictment on what government does every day, 9 to 5, then I don't know what is. Your calls are coming in, and we're taking them this morning, and it's going hot. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes. What's your name, please, and where are you calling from?
My name is Eric. I'm calling from Katani.
Yes, Eric. What are your thoughts on all of this morning?
First, I think the problem we have with government is that there is a trust deficit. So people don't really trust the government to good use. Secondly, they are starting from the end. They have already negotiated. They have already decided they are selling shares. So this is basically covering their tracks, so that even if someone goes to court, they're still safe. So it has nothing to do with Momanyi, but basically just trying to cover their tracks. But they have decided they're going to sell, and I can tell you for sure they will sell, regardless of what Kenyans say. So it is just a waste of time. Lastly, I think they would have done better. Currently, they have said we get almost 11 billion in profits or in share dividends from Safaricom. Why can't they take that profit in advance? They have already taken it. They are going to take 40 billion. Why can't they take that 300 billion even in advance from that company, so that then the company takes the profits or the shares in the next 10 years or so? So that we still maintain, as a country, we maintain our ownership of the company, and we don't draw any interest from those shares in the next 10 or 15 years. At least they would have safeguarded Kenya's interest in that company. But now they are selling it. We are not sure what they are going to do with the money. And what I'm saying is that, yes, they have said they are going to put it in infrastructure. But, we have government agencies that are supposed to do infrastructure. If those agencies have not done anything, what makes us know that
a private company will?
And it is owned by government. Look, let's be very honest. It doesn't matter what we call it. It is still government. Private company, whatever, Barasa, whatever it is, it's still government. If Kenha and Kura and all these other road agencies have not done roads, this won't be any different. So the fact is, they are just covering their tracks, and we have no assurance that they are going to do anything with this money. So I wouldn't support it, not because it's a bad idea, but because chances are the money will be eaten.
I hear you.
Thank you.
I hear you on that. Thank you so much for calling in this morning. Of course, we'll take some more of your calls as they come in. A reminder of that number is 0732-142-650, 0732-142-652. We're hearing from you this morning. Trust in government seems to be an issue this morning already, and that sentiment seems to be running a similar thread through a lot of the conversations that we have. And that we've gotten to the point that without even listening, or without even hearing what would be a plausible explanation, we're already saying no. Not because it's not a good idea, Dennis, but because we've said, okay, lived experience has taught that this thing is not going to happen, so forget it.
Yeah. And I think that's a very sad place to be in, because even on the socials, so Rafiq says public participation is bureaucratic in addressing key issues. The summary is that we have our say, but they have their way. Again, you remember that question you've asked?
Yeah.
Even without reading the details, we already don't trust, because lived experience dictate how future decisions are made.
Indeed. We're taking your calls this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Alex from Garissa County.
Yes, from Garissa County. Alex, tell us what your thoughts are around this.
My thoughts, I think the problem with this government is the use. The people are not contented with the use of these resources, because the government is saying that it is going to develop an infrastructure fund.
Yes.
Is there really a framework that is going to govern that infrastructure fund, or is that money going to end in the pockets of some individuals? So from my viewpoint, I think those shares may still be sold, and then the money could still end in the pockets of some individuals. So personally, I'm not contented with how that money is going to be used. So on my side, that is still another problem.
I hear you, Alex. Thank you for your call this morning. Thank you, and have a good day in Garissa. We'll take some more calls this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I am Anthony.
Yes, Anthony, please turn down the volume on your radio.
Okay, I'm calling from Kilifi.
Yes, Anthony in Kilifi. Good morning. Please tell us what your thoughts are around this issue.
Okay. My major problem is this government. We've always had issues with them creating funds every now and then. But when it comes to accountability, there's nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's this narrative of Singapore, Singapore. The only thing blocking this country from achieving that Singaporean status is the current administration. It needs to be gone, and everything will be good.
Anthony says, Fagia wote, that's how things are going to be sorted. Yeah. I hear you on that. Paul is calling in from Mombasa. Good morning, Paul.
Paul is calling in from Mombasa. Good morning.
Paul, I'm going to need you to turn down the volume on your radio, please.
It's down, okay. How you doing?
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning to you. I think today I don't have much, but just to say the problem is the president. Because you don't tell us you're going to do this thing through public participation, and you're on TV telling us by next week we will be done with this thing. That's bravado of the highest order. And I think we should just do away with such kind of people who believe that everything revolves around them. Good day.
So thank you so much for Paul. Paul says, I'm in agreement to drain the swamp. Asante. More of your calls coming in. 0732-142-650, 0732-142-652. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, too.
Good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Edwin from Machakos County.
Yes, Edwin.
The main problem is, how can we go for infrastructure whereas our education system and our health system are not working? Surely. Huh? You understand me?
I understand you.
Because there's no capitation in January. If they were to sell them and tell and assure us about our secure education system, all the lecturers are paid and everything, that's another thing altogether. Why do they want to go the infrastructure way?
These are the questions.
Yeah.
Priorities? Priorities?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for calling in this morning. Asante sana. Let's hear from some others this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from. Okay, he's gone. We'll take more of your calls as they come in. Maybe some thoughts from you, Dennis?
Yep. So Karen Juguna says, first things first, health and education systems that are secure and working, because that's a national issue. So, and as well as we have Rose Grace says, a big no it is. And Mtufulani, wallahi, Serikali is giving me anxiety. And we also have questions. In terms of Edwin saying, given current huge debt and high taxes, this company may make sense if it miraculously avoids usual corruption and diversion of funds. I'd trust it more if it were carried out by Omtata, Jimmy, or Maraga. So for him, it is those who are undertaking the process that he has a problem with. And Ida Barak, the excuse is to develop the economy, but really all this money being raised is to fund for 2027 campaigns. And really Keg says, why can't we develop at an affordable pace? Why don't we get the British rulers back?
Allah.
Yeah,
okay. Extreme. Somebody else outside become and rule.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I can see those calls coming in. We'll take them. 0732 142 650, 0732 142 652. Call us this morning, and we're still taking those on our live streams this morning on WhatsApp, Facebook, I beg your pardon, on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hello.
Good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling in from. Hello? Hello. All right. We'll keep taking them as they come in. And, just looking at issues of public participation, what truly is your voice on this? From Oyugis is Ouma. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Talk to me.
Yeah, this idea of selling Safaricom issue. Kenyans, I don't know why, they don't analyze things. Once somebody says something is bad, then we just think about it and we don't analyze. We want to grow the economy of this country. The money in Safaricom is like a bank. So when the government is withdrawing some money to invest and to create employment, it is a good idea.
Okay.
I don't see something which is wrong about it.
Okay.
It is only as Kenyans we just think and we don't analyze. We are thinking there's a certain infrastructure which are not in place, which will bring investors. So if the government is coming with such a good program, then we should embrace so that the young people and the future people, rather than going for loans, we have already money which is sitting idle somewhere which can be invested. So that's why I'm for this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Asante Sana, you have a good day as well. We'll take your call. 07, just to remind you, 0732 142 650, 0732 142 652. So we'll hear from you on that. Just to make sure, did I get that second number messed up?
Yes.
Probably I did.
Fine. It's fine.
Okay.
We have 650 and 652. It's
yes,
fine.
exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the way it should look. Okay, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Masese.
Masese, where are you calling from, sir?
I'm calling from Nyamira County.
All right.
A place called Njeri.
Okay, down to the wire. All right, let us know what your thoughts are about this morning.
My thoughts are this government has a budget of 4.5 trillion shilling, which should be used for many things in the country. Now they're cheating us that only 250 or so billion shillings can, create employment and spark growth from 5 to 7%. How possible is that? If 4.5 trillion cannot do anything, the government is now privatizing the whole economy. I mean, just creating a fund that will, infrastructure. Where is this other money going to? We have Ministry of Public Works, which is given money to do projects like those ones. Why should we have another fund somewhere else? So I really feel that this is a hoax. They are looking for money to steal, and the only way they can do that is to have a fund and have their friends there and do whatever they want.
Well,
I really understand. Look at the government as your employee in the house, your maid. Then your maid decides to sell a cow to buy some utensils so that the children in their house can eat. Is it the maid who should decide over the people? Should be us, the people, who were to suggest, let us do this, to do this. So 250 or 600 billion is just a drop in the sea for a budget of 4.5 trillion. So they should look for something else. In fact, they need a big bang to get out, and then we have other people who can manage the country.
So, Masese, what you're saying is that even this money that they're supposedly getting is nowhere near enough to handle the issues that need to be handled. So look somewhere else for it.
That is true, indeed. That's very true, because look at the budget, correlate it to the money they're looking for from Safaricom. Who told them we want to do what they want us to do? Who told them we want to go to
Singapore? Thank you very much for your call this morning. Of course, hearing from you and others this morning. Thank you. We're taking some more calls. Let us know let us know what your thoughts are on this. 0732142650. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling in from, sir.
My name is Joshua. I'm calling from Lugari.
From Lugari, yes, Joshua. Tell us.
My view is that I no longer trust Serikali ya Majamba selling public property to themselves and fooling people that don't benefit the people. That's a big lie. I don't support Serikali ya Majamba. I'm against of this. They should all wipe up come 2027. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your call, Joshua. Let's hear from some others this morning. I mean, I hear that upsetness in his voice. Thank you for your call this morning. We'll take some other calls as we go through. Dennis, you want to tell me something?
Yeah, so Duncan says, when the government does not get dividends, being that the company is profitable, from Safaricom, that is. And we saw the government spend 600 million shillings in a county by-election and ask how they will sustain a general election. This is how. And zero assurance that the money will not be stolen. That is according to Lamek Otieno, as well as Janice says, kola tupu, kola kabisa. And Pristine Touch says, does this government ever listen, leave alone taking advice? Because even from the top, President Ruto has over 20 advisors, but instead he advises his advisors. And Leo says, unfortunately, our MPs are beholden to President William Ruto and money. They want oversight over the sale of Vodacom and subsequent process use. This fund won't work. Political connection and stooges will carry the day. So it's all about the trust in this entire process and where the money will go to, because even a question being asked is, even from the dividends that the government has been getting from Safaricom, around 16 billion shillings, can the government of Kenya today tell us, over the past 5 years, the billions that we've been receiving has done ABCD? Can we see a project that is 16 billion shillings, say, for the year 2024?
Seems like it's a trust issue.
Yeah.
We'll take a couple more calls as we get towards the top of the hour. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling in from.
My name is Alice, and I'm calling in from Kisumu County.
Yes, Alice.
Okay, today, personally, I feel that the government won't really be honest in what they are planning to do with the money that they will get after selling the shares of Safaricom. Because over time it has already been proven that the money will just end up in corruption and other scandals, and the country will still suffer.
I hear you. So it's a trust issue, and from things that you've seen before, you are doubting whether this will actually be the case?
Yes, it's a trust issue, and I really have my own reservations. I don't think things are gonna go really that well. Yes.
I hear you. Thanks for your call, Alice. I mean, you join many who have the same kind of thought, but thank you for calling in this morning. Asante sana. And keep making your voice heard. Absolutely necessary and important to do so. All right, let's hear from Asante sana. Good morning.
The same kind of thought, but thank you for calling in. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from. And the third thing, please turn down the volume on your radio.
Okay. Naitwa Kefa Njuguna Karaoke na Panjoro, na nasema kuhusu hii Safaricom na hii Safaricom vile inauzwa si vizuri. Manake ukiuza kitu ndani ya nyumba yako ama uchukue plot uuze, utarudi kupata mapato namna gani? Kuna hii mawazo ya kuuza, si vizuri kuuza vitu kama hizo. Inafaa kukaa, manake italete profit kila wakati. Na zile profit zilikuwa zinapatikana, hawakusema mahali zilienda. Na pia kulingana vile walifanya strategy hii ya kujenga mabuilding hizi kubwa, hawakufikiria after 5 years itakuwa nini. Lakini kama wangeweka matunda nyingi katika nchi nzima kama vile nchi za Israel wanafanya, ingelikuwa kwa ina benefit watu. Hata tungefungua mafactory ya avocado na vitu vingine. Hivyo ndio ya mawazo yangu yako. Nashukuru.
Asante sana kabisa. We're taking a couple of calls because they're coming in like hotcakes this morning. All right, good morning.
Hello,
good morning.
Yes, I'm Athanas from Homabay.
Athanas, please turn down the volume on your radio, sir.
Okay, I'm doing so.
Good morning.
All right.
Yes.
Now, please let us know what your thoughts are around this.
Yeah, my thoughts are, why don't they postpone this sale until after the elections? Why the hurry now? And if that is to be done, let's give time for public participation to take place before it is floated to the people.
Okay, so the process of public participation needs to take place. We'll take one more call as we get through this, or two more of those. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, tell us your name and where you're calling in from, sir.
My name is Mark Chelimo. I'm calling from Nakuru.
Okay. What are your thoughts around this?
I think the problem is the government is selling to Vodacom. What the government could have done was to sell these shares to Kenyans. Let them initiate the IPO, initial public offer, so that Kenyans can buy. The rest will go to Vodacom. We have done that like that. I'm a retiree from KCB, and we used to sell shares. So selling shares to be public will reduce this pressure and this politics of today and tomorrow. In any case, the government has to raise money to finance things like election and all that, and projects. So they have to sell. So if the government is doing right, let them sell shares for Kenya Pipeline to Kenyans. The rest to any other person, any private investor.
I hear you.
Think that is the best way. Yes.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your call on that. And thank you for all your calls this morning. This is how it starts. Not to be afraid about sharing what your thoughts truly are, but that we inform about what's really happening, and then you can lend your voice in that. We had the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, FCPA John Badi, who was here between 6 and 7 o'clock. And these are the responses to essentially what he's said. The process starts, be involved in that. Let's do it. Let's know that we did it and that it didn't work, rather than we didn't do anything
and complain later.
That's necessary for us to do, guys. So public participation is on. Get involved. Do it. Have your say with informed, from an informed position.
I think we can do as well as this process continues, because Kenyans really want to know about it. We will take it upon ourselves to find out where the locations will be, and we will let Kenyans know so that they become part and process of the same. I think it's important,
Absolutely. As we've been doing this, we've been discussing how to navigate this constantly changing world. And when it comes to your money, you need a plan that's easy to access. The good news, well, ICA Line is making your financial journey seamless and digital. Forget the old-fashioned, complicated stuff. ICA Line has digital channels like their WhatsApp bot called Leo and their self-service portal, making planning super easy. They even have a retirement preparedness index tool. So all you need to do is say, this is what I want, project it, and they can actually input it so that you know how much you need to be committed to for every certain period, like a month or a quarter or things like that. So you can target and plan towards it. ICA is making insurance and investments necessities, not just luxuries, for a diverse group of people. Find your accessible, inclusive, helpful plan today. Just ask, what's your plan? Check out the digital tools at icealion.co.ke. I'll do that again. icealion.co.ke. Tell us quickly before we close this down. 19 and 45.
19 shillings 1 hour, 45 shillings 3 hours. How do you get that? This is Airtel Unlimited Fund Bundle, and with that, *544# is where you go to, or go to your My Airtel app that you can download on App Store or Google Play Store, as well as buy yourself an Airtel SIM card and tell us your story. That's the most important part, on your story that you missed out on simply because the data let you down. Share that with us on our social media platforms, and we will let you know. If you give us the perfect story, 3,000 bob airtime, courtesy of Airtel, is yours.
Absolutely. At 8:02, conversations continue. Good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. President William Ruto is today set to meet with a contingent of 230 Kenyan police officers who returned from Haiti, marking the first group to come home since their deployment in June 2024. The mission, during which 3 officers lost their lives, formed part of Kenya's support for internationally backed security operations in Caribbean nation. National Security Advisor Monica Juma commended the officers for their service, saying they had undertaken the mission with professionalism, integrity, loyalty to Kenya, and service to Haiti.
I'm bringing you welcome greetings from the Commander-in-Chief. This morning when he spoke, he said, when I receive you, I must first convey his warm welcome, nyumbani. Karibuni, karibuni, karibuni nyumbani.
DIGs Elliot Lagarde and Gilbert Masengeli also praised the officers, noting that they'd made the nation proud.
We will have an opportunity tomorrow to meet you and to have lunch, just the way Masengeli has said. Having said that, I want to really thank all of you for the contribution you have had or you've given to the Republic of Haiti in restoring peace and order.
Together, the Kenya Defense Force, the National Intelligence Service, and the National Police Service partnering. This is a true testament that when we work together as a team, are able to go far. Officers, welcome back home. This marks the beginning of the start and the end of the beginning. End of your mission and the beginning of serving the Kenyan people back to Kenya. You are welcome.
Senior Superintendent of Police Clapperton Imbiru, who served as Deputy Commander during the mission, said the team faced extremely difficult conditions in Haiti.
The kind of extortion caused by the gangs in the name that they are also collecting tax. You can imagine when a country lacks a responsible government, what happens? And nobody's in control. Then the gangs had taken over the country, barricaded the roads, and they could tax anybody driving over those highways. But when we came in, we had to push them out of Port-au-Prince. We had to make sure the airport was safe. And then we went expanding up to even the areas of Antbonnet, on Sonde, and there is a place called Flavier where we are having a police academy, and we were able to let the process run.
And Health Cabinet Secretary Aidan Duale has accused some union leaders of orchestrating protests using non-health workers, claiming that recent demonstrations outside Afia House were driven by individuals turning a noble workforce into their own games. In an interview with the local TV station, Duale dismissed the legitimacy of recent demonstrations linked to health sector disputes. According to the CS, the union-led protests were not genuine, since some unnamed people had been infiltrating them with the aim of sabotaging the healthcare system in Kenya through protests.
And one thing I have seen in Afia House is that majority of the people who come to demonstrate, and I'll say it without any fear of contradiction, in fact are not healthcare workers. So leaders are turning a very noble healthcare workforce in our country, where we want to put them and put them fit for purpose at the right level. They want to turn it into their own games.
And Duale went on to defend his record since taking office, saying he had addressed long-standing industrial disputes which occasionally pitted the government against health workers.
I am one of the cabinet secretaries for health who, when I came to office, I resolved the long historical outstanding healthcare industrial disputes in our country. I have posted interns at the rate that they wanted in consultation with the National Treasury and the Presidency. I have made sure that the UHC staff, including clinicians, are now earning at SRC rates.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Must do. Like now, you abandon, of course, the narrative of wheelbarrow, Mutomjengo, Mamamboga, and all those, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's in itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Yeah, we continue with those conversations. It's now 9 minutes after 8 o'clock. And you guys, today I'm on this thing like white on rice. Do you have a plan? You must have a plan. Somewhere in the back of your head, the engines are turning and those turbines keep moving and you're saying, I know I need to do this. I know I need to go into this direction in the future. Well, ICA Lion is here to answer these questions for you. What is it? What do you think you want to do? You want to go into retirement in a certain direction? What do you want to make sure that you do? What do you want to ensure that you will have no matter what it is? So combined with the expertise behind giving you what that plan should be and how you can navigate it, combine that with the digital tools that they have to make sure that you're up to date, as well as you don't have to think or go line up or sit in a lounge somewhere to get these answers. ICA Lion has the answer for you. All you need to do is ask the question, what's your plan? And go on down to www.icealion.co.ke. Boom.
Even as you're planning, plan to have a data bundle that will not let you down. You know, Airtel Unlimited Fun Bundle is here to ensure that your quality of life, that everything that you deem important to your life is maintained at that level. There's no need ya kupanda na kushuka kama pendulum, no. Kupanda na kushuka kama pendulum. You maintain that quality of life. Airtel is telling you dial *544# or go to your My Airtel app or download it on App Store or Google Play Store, where you get to have it, or buy yourself an Airtel SIM card where you're able to connect. Remember, 19 shillings for 1 hour unlimited data, 45 shillings for 3 hours unlimited data, and that will be able to sort out your missing out on important situations. Don't miss out on your child's first day walking. Don't miss on your child's first day playing soccer, or your baby girl dancing, Cinderella and all those things. Be part of these processes. So what is your formal moment? Share that with us on our socials, and our good lady Flavier will get in touch with you. Pick up that story that is so touching, and 3,000 shillings airtime, courtesy of Airtel, will be yours.
Absolutely. And those are the conversations that we're having, and we're getting into another one this hour. It's 11 minutes after 8, and we're going to shift gears a little bit, go back and come back to where we were before. John C.W. is the governance expert. He joins us this morning. John, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good morning. Salaam sana, how are you?
Good to have you here today.
Thank you very much.
The last time we had a conversation, we were getting into the conversation around this, was the day that we heard the news of the demise of Raila, the late Right Honourable Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the potency or the importance of this conversation. And we wanted to get into it again. And things have happened beyond or after that would then point us to want to move this forward. We're going to get into that in just a little bit, and I'll explain why I've said that. But before we do, Dennis wants to welcome you with today's proverb, and we'd love to get your interpretation of it.
The proverb today is from the continent, Africans saying amazing things, So, a tree of patience has bitter roots, but its fruit is sweet. How would you interpret it?
Better the end of a matter than the beginning thereof.
Proverb versus proverb.
Yep.
Solution.
It simply means when any idea, the beginning of the rooting of any idea is painful, but the shooting of it, when the fruit is there, do you realize the fruit is always sweet? So better the end of a matter than the beginning thereof.
Yeah, absolutely. Better the end of the matter than the beginning thereof. Yeah. This is true.
Yeah.
So, since you came last time, we started to have this conversation around what technology can actually do for rooting authenticity and integrity in electoral processes. We have had a by-election.
Right.
And perhaps the reasoning around why this should happen was fully exemplified in those elections, because people felt the need to protect their vote. And so people sat at polling stations, people slept at polling stations, people were injured at polling stations, people lived in constituencies that are not their homes, people were then injured, some people were killed, things were burnt down, property was destroyed, because people wanted to protect their vote. And why I'm saying this is that if we looked into maybe the direction that you were thinking of, then perhaps all of the things that we saw happening would not have happened. Please explain to people why I'm saying what I'm saying, John.
My sister, thank you very much. Again, it's always a privilege to be here, and we don't take it for granted because of the opportunity to speak to our people. Social media, or rather media, either social, radio, TV, or any form of media, gives us and accredits us the opportunity to be able to reach far and wide within a short period of time. So thank you for the work you're doing. Now, I would really want us to, because I know we have a few minutes, I would request us to really take this matter very seriously. The reason is because this is an issue of life and death, and we all know where 2007 shifted our country to. Let's not even go there. Look at our neighboring nation of Tanzania. All these things can be avoided. Like literally what we're about to speak about today has nothing to do with which tribe you come from. Has nothing to do with what your political ambitions are. We do not care about that. Let's put that on the side, and let's deal with this issue from a point of any life matters. It's very important. Now, looking at it from that point of view, why am I saying that? I always, because you have given me an opportunity, I always like using the scriptures, because again, we have tended to isolate the Bible to a point of it's just applicable on Sunday. But the Bible is a daily guide. If you will look for how to build kings, it's in the Bible. Marriage is in the Bible. Communities are in the Bible. Think about anything you can think of. The scriptures will always have an answer to them. The book of James chapter 4 verse 17 says, if anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, that is considered a sin. I repeat, if you know the good you ought to do and you don't do it, that is considered a sin. I'm saying that in view of the fact that we built a system around an electoral system, a voting system, very solid system. And thank God a few weeks ago we managed to meet the head of the IEBC, Erastus, the chair of IEBC, the deputy of IEBC, I mean the whole commissioners, all the people that, the stakeholders within that system. They gave us an opportunity here in Nairobi. We sat down in a meeting, gave us an opportunity to, thank you very much, gave us an opportunity to express what this is about. And so the chair was seated there, the whole system, all the people representatives were seated there, and we showed practically what we had built. We built a system looking at simple points. Number one, previously IEBC was spending approximately 2,000 shillings per person per vote. Drum rolls, my sister, drum rolls. Guess what we are spending? 36 bob.
36.
36 shillings.
A difference of 1,972 shillings. 74 shillings. Right.
That's fast. Second catch about this thing. It's impossible. And again, because we speak to, the problem again, maybe our generation or maybe your generation, people reasoned a bit. Allow me to use those words. We didn't just say things because we want to say. Our generation, unfortunately, someone because they have internet, they just think they can just write something. Oh, it can be hacked. Keep quiet and listen when we are speaking. We have knowledge of what we are saying. If you go to a doctor and you are sick, you keep quiet and you listen to the doctor. Let's not just be waking up and speaking things without, having understanding of them. We built a blockchain system, a voting system that is purely built on a blockchain platform. What does that mean? It's not possible to hack that system. It means that, number one, if first of all we have managed to reduce it from 2,000 to 36 shillings, imagine how much money we are bringing back to the nation to do other things like education and stuff. Secondly, the system cannot be hacked. It means the surety of the voter, the votes will be as the votes were. 3, the voter turnout will be there. Like today, I think we are dealing with something called voter what?
Apathy.
Voter apathy. The reason why people are not coming out to vote is because they know eventually their vote will not necessarily count. I mean, what's the point of me traveling? My vote was in somewhere in Ukambani. What's the point of me traveling all the way to Ukambani only for me to realize my vote did not matter? So 3, the vote apathy will go up. Number 4, the voter turnout in terms of the fact that diaspora votes. You can imagine if a tallying, or rather a tallying station is here, look at it from US, it's almost like Africa. And then I live in South Africa. How far would I need to travel to come to Kenya, for example, for me to? So diaspora votes will increase. I want you to look at all those benefits. Number 5, it assures that there is no death in the nation. Why? Because it's clear. I mean, if you voted, you are able to go there because we've built it or not, you call a decentralized platform.
Right.
You are able to go there and verify your vote. My name is John CW. This is my vote. This is my vote number. This is the time I voted. That's the fourth thing. The fifth one or the sixth one. You see the way votes coming today, and then you take 3 days to tally.
Yes.
I mean, to count the votes. The same time the vote ends, for example, the system sets a period of time, the vote begins at 6 a.m. and the vote ends at 5 p.m. Immediately the vote, the time for the vote ends. Immediately we know who are the winners. There is nothing like taking that. We don't need even the IBC. He is only there to announce what we already, the process that we already know. So it creates all those opportunities, among many other things. And if we are not able to look at this thing from that point of view, let me give the last point of scripture. Ecclesiastes says there's a time and a season for everything. If you keep going down there, it says there is a time to build and a time to destroy. There is a time to accept and a time to reject. The season where we are in right now, we already know how 2027 is going to look. But because of tribalizing this thing, politicizing this thing, you are coming from this particular political party. We do not care your political party. We are dealing with lives here. And by the way, I need to say this. If we do not address this thing right now, my sister, we'll be having a problem in 2027. You think Tanzania has seen anything? Tanzanians are not fighters like Kenyans. Kenyans are going to fight for their vote. It's not the issue of who wins. Let my vote count, despite who won. So it's a very serious matter. We need to look at it from that point of view because we have an opportunity to do the right thing. And I repeat again to the leaders, do the right thing. You know, the last time we left here, what happened to us? I was given an offer.
To do what?
To do what?
I don't know if I should say it publicly.
Well, let's go. That's why we're here.
Situation room.
My sister, there is money outside here. We left here. We went. I've been called by members of parliament, and I'm saying it publicly with proof. I've been sent messages by senators with proof. We've been sent messages by top lawyers with proof. People come and say, we want to buy your project. Then you sit down and wonder, they give you a very nice value because you are young, and normally when you are young, most of us, the only thing we want is money. And then you sit and wonder, why would you give me 200 million?
Oh, wow.
Why? Okay. Why would you do it? We are not here to sell our project. We are just saying, yes, we understand there is a value add to it, but that's not the reason why we are doing what we are doing. And then you realize all of a sudden someone wants to buy. If you ask them the reason, they buy to kill it.
Oh, so they buy to essentially to
the whole
put
concept
out
is
the fire.
To put out the. I mean, they buy it from you. You are no longer able to access it. Then they kill the whole idea. You know why? Think about it this way: how many papers are being imported during voting? Cartels.
I mean,
ink, just to to ink the little finger. Cartel. Just think about the whole structure where we can reduce. Previously, we were looking at around 40-something billion. John Buddy, which I think I just met him on the corridor
he
here.
Just left here.
It has now pushed in his view to 61.7 billion. What we are saying is that, and by the way, the system that we are using, the first point of it is actually what's even taking a little bit of more money. As you keep going, the things that you bought are the same things you are going to be using. So the more we do more more election, when we come to an electioneering period, the amount of even what you are using reduces, unlike what we are having in Kenya, where the amount does what? Increases. We need to take this matter very seriously because it might become a different trajectory for 2027. If we want to make sure that lives are not lost, I'm talking to the leaders, do the right thing.
We did see this, and there's a reason why it talks about the by-elections that took place. That if we didn't realize that the ruckus or the fracas that we saw in different polling stations was because of this thing, that there is a vote that has been cast that folks feel as though they need to protect. So that's why we saw members of parliament, governors, senators, the deputy president, cabinet secretaries going to polling stations, in as well as ordinary, if we can say, as well as Kenyans going to polling stations to protect the vote. So, John, what you're telling us then with this system is that there is no need for that.
There is no need for that.
There is a foolproof system whereby you cast your vote. You can actually do what Cabinet Secretary Murkomen said, where you can cast your vote and you can go home.
You can go home.
You don't need to be in this area. So if that's the case, and as you say, it makes sense, why wouldn't we want to embrace it?
After we met the IEBC chair, we pitched the whole idea. He embraced the idea. The second part of it was that we were supposed to be given an opportunity to table it before Parliament. So now that's what we're actually waiting for them to give us a date. And I challenge our parliamentarians, if you really have nothing to hide, give us a date to show you what we have. Just attempt it. And then for another reason, we've created something called a list of shame. The Article 81 of the Constitution, because again, young people, we don't just do things. We need to look at what the law says about it. Article 81 of the Constitution and Article 83 of the Constitution allows us to play around, gives an opportunity for what you call, it gives an opportunity for us to use technology around the voting system. Just go and read Article 81 of the Constitution and Article 83 of the Constitution. So we are not just speaking, haphazardly, just like we came from the streets. No, we understand what the Constitution gives, the leverage the Constitution gives towards us building systems that can be able to afford us those kind of realities. So when you look at it from that point of view, why would a whole sitting cabinet minister that's supposed to be serving the whole nation, what is his interest in a seat, in a member of parliament seat? I mean, you're not even supposed to be anywhere there. What is a deputy president literally doing? Think about how much money they spent. I actually heard that approximately it was approximately 600 million. Now let me ask you a question. Think about this with me. Either me, I have a problem, or our leaders have a problem, and we all know who has a problem. Why are you, if the 600 million you're spending, right? This seat, how much money is this MP going to be paid per month? Approximately, is it 700,000 or whatever? Then look at
plus
15
allowances,
plus allowances.
Take a million.
Take a million, right? Okay, let's assume in 12 months, that's how much? That's 12 million, right? So in 5 years, how much is he looking at?
60.
Around 60 million approximately. Let's even be courteous enough and add another 10 million. So that's around 70 million. Why would you spend, business-wise, why would you be spending 600 million to get 70 million in return? I mean, the law of demand and supply, it already tells you that's not even something, you're already going at a loss. That means there is something they are going for. So the question would be, the amount of time you wasted going on the streets, if we had a blockchain system, something that is more secure, our members of parliament and our governors will be working. The amount of money you have used, we would not need to use that, because then it's cheaper. And by there, I need to say this. In Kenya, I did the statistics. Kenya is approximately top 3 most expensive nations to run an election. I mean, you need like 100 million to become a member of parliament. Now they have even done 600 million. So I'm wondering, if a member of parliament is spending 600 million, how much are we looking about for you to be re-elected as a president? You get what I'm saying? How much money are you looking at? I'm even assuming it's beyond, because now they are already doing it on ground, CG, and they're hiding it in terms of empowerment.
And where does the money come from?
That's the question I'm looking at. And then number 2, you are going to spend this money on who? What would 600 million had done apart from electing a member of parliament? Of course, I know he goes to represent the interests of the people. But what would that 600 million have done? Assuming you brought that 600 million to that community. Let's build go-downs. I mean, let's build, what is this community? What do you do? We farm chickens, we farm what? Build a whole ecosystem around them. You would have employed approximately 500-600 people rather than taking one person to parliament. It doesn't make sense to me.
You know, John, you just mentioned about 36 shillings, right? So that we are spending a vote. And if you just use 22 million registered voters, and how much we will be spending, that comes to 792 million shillings. If you talk about 2,300 shillings, assuming per vote, and if you multiply that by 22 million, you get to 50 billion 600 million.
Why would you spend? Look, so what is the reason why you deny our system? That means it's a whole cartel system. And by the way, it's not once. The first time I came out with this issue, I don't know if it's professional to say it online. I'll try to hide most important. I won't say the names. But the first time before I came here, I have a program called State of the Nation where I address every Thursday. As I'm leaving my office, my car gets shot at.
Shot at?
Yes. How do you explain it? After speaking about this thing, we came, I brought a whole group of people, we built a system. And by the way, we're going to show you practically, because it's here, so I hope we'll be able. My car gets shot at. then the question I would ask, what are we really hiding? Why would you spend 60 billion over something you can spend 2-3 billion or whatever, or 10 billion or 700 million? Let me ask you, what are you hiding? So that's why we built a list of shame. And as we present it, we'll be able to say anyone that does not take this system, we want the people that the member of parliament is representing to answer his people. Why would you prefer to use 61.7 billion? Oh, and I've already had someone asking a question. Let me say in the spirit. Which country? You know, that's what we like doing.
Has used
which
it
country?
before.
Okay, okay. Why should we wait for countries to use it? M-Pesa, which country had used it before? Which is the biggest money transfer system in the world? Where is it coming from? Who did we wait for? Why does Africa need to wait for anyone? Let me not even talk about Estonia. I'm not going to answer that question. Answer yourself. Africa needs to come out of this mentality of waiting for another nation to do it. We are not dumb people. Kenya has brains. We don't need to wait for you. It's like now I'm saying I want to be married, but I want to wait for you first to be married.
Let me see how Dennis.
Let's see how you. It doesn't make sense. So it's time for us to embrace these realities. We can curb a lot of money laundering. We can curb a lot of debts. We can change the system, because if you are able to vote, you are able to go and verify these votes came from here. Then we even make the work of the head of IBC chair irrelevant to that degree. It's just formal, but we already know by evening this is the person. That's how we change our nation.
As you talk about this blockchain technology, the simple understanding of it is once a file has been keyed in, there is a duplicity and multi-million duplicity of these files that it cannot be hacked.
It cannot.
I don't know if this is the time that we just see how this system works,
for sure,
just so that we understand what it is we're talking about. You know, what you showed our EBC, what it is you expect to present in Parliament, and what Kenyans perhaps, if agreed upon, would be interacting with. So,
yeah, sure, we'd love to look into that. I think maybe just important as we prepare to do that, because it's for us to see the practicability of it, is for the explanation as to why it cannot be hacked a little bit, clearer, John.
Okay.
That what is this process that you go through that will ensure that there will not be mice in the system, essentially, who are gobbling up.
I'm going to allow my friend to come on board shortly, but let me give it a layman's point of view.
Yes.
Now, I want you to look at this, my sister. This is a phone. Okay? And this one I'm actually saying to the people that argue without understanding.
Yeah.
This is a phone. Think about it as a block.
Yes.
This is one block. This is another block. And assuming this is another block.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's visible. Now, if you connect blocks together, what do you form? A chain of
blocks.
Hence the word
blockchain. Yes.
So what does that mean? Let's say I do a transaction on this block here. If I transact from this one block, because of the chain that block, the chain of it, that transaction cannot be only stored on one block, which is one computer. The ripple effect of that reality goes to as many computers as you can think globally. Let's say 100,000 computers or 1 million computers. Any chain that block is found on, that ripple effect is replicated on that. Now, in order for you to change that reality, you will need to find all those computers. You need to find where that. The question I would like to ask you, is that even a possibility? Maybe it routed to China 4,000 blocks. It routed to Russia 1,000 blocks, for example. It routed to Kenya 13,000 blocks.
Yeah.
So how is it possible unless you are Jesus?
But then can you change the original? Can
It's
you
not
change
possible.
the mother? Because it came from somewhere, didn't it? And that's what usually folks are going to fiddle with. The very first thing that went in is what people will change. These are the questions, John, folks are asking.
Good.
What if somebody would want to fiddle with the mother information?
Okay. Now, when I started speaking, I used a very specific word. Decentralized.
Yeah.
That's a very, very important word.
Yeah.
There is a difference between centralized system and a decentralized system. What does that mean? You have built this system. We have all agreed that this is a system.
Yes.
You place this system on that block network. Once you surrender the system there
to the network,
there is no way anyone can tamper on that system.
Why?
I'll repeat again.
So
the reason is because and he's going to come in and add on this. This is a system. This is a block.
Yes.
We have put the system here. We have all agreed that this is a system we are using.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We put this system, it's now a blockchain. We have added it on the chain of everything that is existing on that block.
Yeah.
So if we want to change anything, because we've surrendered it there, if we want to change anything on that system, the ripple effect of everything that is hosted on that system, we have to find this one and this one. It's a whole block. It's like, you know the way you have a chain. You realize a chain is not just formed with
one loop.
With one loop.
Yeah.
So you need to find all those loops because it's existing in a block. It's existing in a blockchain, not a block.
Yeah.
It's a whole chain. So if you're going to change anything there, you need to find all those little loops. And it's not a possibility. This is why from 2008, blockchain cannot be hacked. Have you ever heard of that word? It cannot be hacked. Reason is because the security of that block is not existing by itself. It's a whole centralized system of chain, whereby if you want to change this, you have to find what it's connected to and find what it's connected to. It's not a possibility.
John, let me get it. So as we talk about the system itself is the mother block, if one would say that.
Wonderful.
That means if any other information is keyed into the mother block, the ripple effect is the same as the original.
Is the same as the original mother block.
So that means for you to change these, you need to find 1 million plus blocks, and any information that you key in as well goes to other million
replicated
plus blocks.
And that's where the security comes in. So, other than a centralized system where everything is stored on this computer. So if I can access this computer, I can change. But now in a blockchain system, nothing is stored on one.
Everything is stored everywhere.
Everything is decentral.
Yeah.
Now do you understand the word?
Right.
Decentralized.
Okay. So it'd be good for us to take a look at how this works.
Okay.
To say that if, we were casting our votes in Kenya, and for the purposes of this discussion, I don't know who's going to be president, John and Dennis, I don't know. But you'll tell us how this works so we can have a look at it.
Right.
Because what we're talking about, and it's very interesting what you said, that, why do we have to wait for somebody else to have done it for us to see that it can work? We can actually be the pioneers, and that's the thing that we're all pushing for, especially for Africa, that we can be the pioneers of something and say, look, this thing works, solve problems for years to come. Let's have a look, see what it looks like.
So this is my friend Jesse. Jesse, please take a shortest time possible and let Kenyans know.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to be doing a demonstration of the blockchain voting system. So what we have here is a video of the demonstration we actually did while we were presenting the system to the Electoral Commission, that is the IEBC, and other organizations on that day. So basically, the system is built to be able to facilitate each and every step of the election process, from election, from the registration process of both the candidates and also the registration of the voters. So we are going to I'm just going to play the video, and I'll just be running it a bit fast to be able to demonstrate the exact steps needed to be shown. So as you can see here, so I'm going to hit play. Now this is the home screen, and you can see we have we have a voter or observer panel, because part of the stakeholders in an electoral process involves people who are the observers and everything, to be able to ensure transparency.
Okay, so for the purposes of this voter electoral panel is the observers that you would find at a polling station, for example.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. All they do, the observers, is observe. So they don't have any control into the system. They cannot alter anything in the system. Theirs is just to observe.
They basically have no admin rights.
They don't have Thank you. They don't have admin rights. So as you can see, these are some of the features in the system. So you can see those are the candidates on the screen. We have the president, the governor, all positions are there. Now there's a tab here on the current screen. You can see there's check voter status. It means on your device, the one you'll be using at home or at the polling station. The beauty of this system is that though we're making it available on devices, it is also accessible at home.
So I can vote from home?
Yes, and you can also vote at the polling station, because not everybody has a device. So that doesn't mean they don't vote this way. They can come to the polling station.
It's a simple question, even as you go towards that. Then how would the system indicate that I voted from home and someone voted from at the polling station?
Well, you see, what happens while voting is this. Each device registers as though it's a polling station, right? So what happens is, once you vote at home, whether you vote at home or at the polling station, the effect is the same. The transaction reads the same. It's like you send money here or you send money in the bank. It's still the same transaction. And also, once you vote, the system bans your identity. It means you cannot re-access the system again to vote again.
I think you need to repeat that point.
Yeah, it's very important, actually.
Repeat that point.
Yes. So that's called, in blockchain infrastructure, you can mint and ban. So at the point of registration of a voter, we mint a cryptographic token that is your identity. All right?
Like
now,
your fingerprint in the system?
Yes.
All right.
And it has
we like to use those words because, we're not as sharp as you. So you might need to dumb it down a little bit for us. So
Fingerprints.
That we can, okay.
That is your
ID. Fingerprint is your ID change in the system.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so what happens, once you mint it, it has an expiry date. It means not that it will expire. It only expires after use. That's why it's only usable once. So the system registers that I have voted, and so it destroys that token.
It's like a burner phone. I use it once and then it's gone.
And then it's gone. It's no longer valid on the system after voting. However, its effect, which is the vote, remains. Now that's the proof that you voted.
Okay.
Now we are talking about let me just maybe clarify. It's a decentralized system. Unlike a centralized system, if I wanted to hack this building, I just find the central servers and I can access every database here. But with blockchain, it means the transactions are linked. The way he was saying, the loops, right? They are linked to each other. So it means if in blockchain, there is what is called computing power. You cannot just enter a system and manipulate it. You need to have approximately 51% of power that is required to maintain that system first.
Explain power.
So computing power is this.
Okay.
Let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the oldest and the most popular blockchain network, and also the mother of the Bitcoin cryptocurrency.
All right.
So this is how Bitcoin works. For you to earn a Bitcoin, you can either buy it or own a server that maintains the network. And by you maintaining the network, meaning you're like a database. Transactions are stored with you. So there is a database you personally you keep, and as a reward of your participation in that, the system rewards you Bitcoin.
Coins.
Right? Now, there is the power you generate to keep it. All right? Actually, globally, Bitcoin, the network per year, uses more power than New Zealand as a country.
Oh, okay.
Get that picture. So you can see it is highly intensive in terms of power consumption because of the number of people who own Bitcoin servers or their Bitcoin miners. There are many, right? Now those are the different servers of Bitcoin. You see, they're decentralized. So I have a certain capacity, and that's what I maintain on the network. It's what I supply on the network. That's my computing power. So for you to be able to manipulate this entire ecosystem, you need to generate 51% of everybody's power. That's impossible.
Okay.
Globally.
You get.
So the power we're talking about is different individuals with different servers in the entire ecosystem. So for you to have controlling power, you need to have 52% of everyone's power. Okay.
So, in fact, if you do research, you'll find even in Dubai, they have very big, they are called mining farms. In Kenya, they are there. And you find people are finding ways to cool the systems because they consume a lot of power to mine Bitcoin. This process of mining is, once a transaction happens, what happens is this. Bitcoin gives you a very complex mathematical problem to solve. Now, that's what generates a lot of power. Because your computer has to have what it takes to compute to do that calculation, and once you're able to solve it, now you can confirm that transaction, and that's what creates a block. So you see how blocks are created. It is out of solving a complex problem to confirm a transaction. That's your reward.
Okay.
Now the power it takes to solve that mathematical problem is now the computing power I'm talking about.
Okay.
So in case you're even able to produce 51% of that power and hack, if it is possible, it is possible to trace it back to you.
Okay.
Because identities on blockchain systems are not anonymous. Anonymous means you can do anything and nobody will know it was you. What they are is they are pseudonymous. A pseudonym is simply like a nickname.
Yes.
Right? So though you're not using your formal name on blockchain, the name you use can be linked to your actual identity. Yes.
So because of the fact that you had to generate so much power in order to perform a particular function, we're going to know it's you.
Yes.
Or we'll find you at some point.
All right. It individualizes you.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
In fact, you'll be generating a very huge heat signature. We will just find you. We'll know so much power is going somewhere. It's suspicious. So we'll just find you through that footprint. So now this system is now an application of that whole framework, which was primarily built for financial purposes, but now we repurpose it to do a voting system, because financial transactions we can now make them votes, right? So and secure them with the system. So this system has two dashboards. It's the dashboard for the admin and the observers, and the dashboard that the voter has. Whether you're at home or at the polling station, it's the same. So you can see in the video on the current tab, you can see you can check your voting status. You can view all the candidates who are in the system. So that's how it just flows. So this video is a demonstration video, and because of how the system works, we couldn't manage to set up a voting session for this morning because of some technicalities. But the system is live. We could have a little bit was needed, but we still have this demo here. You can see you can view your votes. One of the merits of this system is that after voting, you don't have a spoiled vote. It is impossible to have a spoiled vote.
Very important point.
What it means to have a spoiled vote is that person's vote, they just wasted their time. They went to the polling station at 3 a.m. and you see, we only told of spoiled votes, but we are not told whose vote got spoiled.
Yes.
So, what would it take to ensure that on this system, as you vote, that you've actually voted and your vote is authentic? You voted for, whomever to be Senator of Nairobi, and that is clear that it happened. So, what precludes a spoiled vote then from occurring?
Because of the user interface, the way you see, there's how in M-Pesa you make sure you don't send money to the wrong account.
But we still do.
But you still do. But this system prompts you. It makes you confirm, are you actually voting for this person?
Just like the way M-Pesa would.
Yes.
Okay.
But you see, it's difficult to miss yes or no. It's difficult. So that's part of the UI, UX of the platform. The user interface, user experience of the system. So to make sure, it is very difficult to have a spoiled vote. It is very difficult. So that, again, increases the credibility of the result at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it user-friendly across board? Because that's one of the issues, that somebody who needs to be assisted, sight-assisted, hearing-assisted, all of these things assisted. Is it user-friendly in that manner, even because of age and things like that?
Yes.
And then, even as you do that, so the interface, is it user-friendly?
It is user-friendly, and it is also has a multilingual feature. Meaning it's not just available in English, it can be available in Kiswahili, in vernacular, for people who need that. It also has voice assistance. At IEBC, when we were doing this with them, we have a proprietary AI, artificial intelligence, that is capable of receiving commands and helping you interact.
Can we show you practically?
Yes.
Okay, please Tell one of my guys to ask Kibaki to bring it here. We will show you a system that he's talking about, because that's very important in terms of how do we educate the public, either young or old people. Let's even assume you're not able to read.
Yes.
We built an AI system that you can literally talk your language. They say, hello, I would like to vote for so and so. In any language. They say, we say, this person, yes. It continues.
Especially even the old people.
Whether you are 90 years, we have made a system that, and that's why I'm saying, I don't even know why the IEBC will ignore such a thing. But you wait and listen. We've made the whole system, it's here, and it took us a lot.
And this,
to compile this whole thing.
I'm still on that when you're talking to the system, because somebody else I can be in front of the thing saying that I want to vote for Dennis Aseto, and there's somebody else there, and Njeri is there, and she says no, he really wants to vote. How is it going to know that it's me? I'm telling you, all the situations through which something can be.
No. You are very right.
Yeah?
You are very right. Let me ask you a question. Let me some of the things. Please come on this side. And we want to just listen to her. So this is the thing. Let me ask you a question. You have the PIN for your M-Pesa, right?
Yes.
Is there a risk of someone else knowing your PIN?
Yes.
So the question I would like to ask you, some of the things we do, we need to separate people's participation from the reality of the matter. The same way you take care of your M-Pesa PIN.
Yes.
Same way you take care of your... There has to be a level of taking care that is personal to you.
Yes.
Right? So, for example, you know very well you are going to vote. You want to vote for so-and-so, and you want to speak to this particular person. In that assumption, and you are there, it's as simple as I would like, not we would. So you already know it's not a corporate issue. So some of the questions, even before we answer, the whole reality lays within that particular... You as a particular person, you need to take your own responsibility that we cannot actually be able to help you. We'd like to show you this system so that you can really hear us speaking to this person. Please be continuing for a minute as we do. Are we ready? Okay, let's call. Make the call. Thank you so much. Again, we apologize. Maybe we are not very professional. Please bear with us.
We're trying to fight for the nation.
Hi there. I'm Momanyi Wefwe from Azizi, Africa. I help you describe your business story so we can later pitch it Fantastic, Kibaki.
Okay, good morning. How are you, Baggings?
Good morning, Kibaki. Niko sawa kabisa. Asante kwa kuuliza. Na wewe je?
I am doing well. Now, I wanted to find out, Baggins, what is the advantage of using blockchain as opposed to paper in terms of voting? Can you tell us?
Absolutely, Kibaki. Let me break it down simply. Blockchain in voting has some key advantages over paper. First, transparency. Every vote can be recorded on a secure, unchangeable digital ledger, making the process very tamper-proof. Second, security. Blockchain reduces risks of fraud or manipulation, because once a vote is recorded...
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have time. Switch to Kiswahili. Habari yako?
Salama kabisa, Kibaki.
Sasa nilikuwa nataka kujua kama mimi ni mtu mzee sana na niko mahali ushago na nataka kuvote. Unaweza nisaidia kuvote?
Hilo jambo la kupiga kura kisheria nalo lina utaratibu wake rasmi. Na kwa sasa siwezi kusaidia moja kwa moja kwenye mchakato huo. Lakini naweza kukuelekeza kuhusu faida za mifumo ya kidijitali kama blockchain katika kupiga kura. Pia unaweza kuwasiliana na maafisa wa tume ya uchaguzi au viongozi wa eneo lako.
Okay, kwa sababu sina time, Baggings. Haya, hebu utaeleza nini wa Kenya kuhusu uchaguzi ambao unakuja? Unawaeleza wafanyaje?
Sawa, Kibaki. Wacha nieleze kwa ufupi. Uchaguzi unaokuja ni muhimu sana kwa Wakenya. Kwenye mfumo wa kisasa kama blockchain, kura zinahesabiwa kwa uwazi na hakuna nafasi ya udanganyifu.
This is a system you have built. It's literally talking to you. So whether you are 100 years, whether you are 90 years, you can speak any language to this system.
Yeah.
And you can tell this system, I want to vote for so and so, and the system helps you to vote. Now, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a genuine question. You imagine what it has taken for us to build these particular platforms. This is already, even before we are going to meet the IEBC, we knew what we are presenting to them. if they can give us an opportunity, and especially the members of parliament, because we are already done. You know, the IBC does not have, they can't do much in that view. The whole matter has to be brought to the, to the House, and for them to be able to pass it as a law. And as I've told you, Article 81 and Article 83 of the Constitution, they already have these things. I think even next time when we come, because I'm assuming we'll be having a bigger screen, we'll now bring the whole practicality of what you are saying here, so that you see how simple it is. And number two, by the way, you can literally use your phone, we forgot to say that, to vote. You don't need to go to a voting station. Just like you can use your phone to send money now. I mean, whether it's internet, M-Pesa, you can use literally your phone here.
John, do you know why everyone is paying you 200 million shillings to get rid of this system? Because as we saw during the by-election, 600 million was spent, and it was spent on what? Voter bribery.
Voter bribery.
You know? But this system clearly is telling Kenyans, stay at home and vote for that person. You don't need to sell your ID, because your ID is in the system.
Exactly.
And perhaps this is the bigger conversation that Kenyans should be having in terms of, as we keep on clamoring and asking for credible, free, fair and just election, solution is here. It is cheaper, it is affordable and available for everyone. You know, you don't have to struggle to pay fare to go vote. You don't have to stand outside the sun or rain for you to vote.
Like you can imagine because I'm assuming you're working, and media does a lot of work.
Yeah.
In fact, I really sympathize with you. The amount of work media does to cover these things. Can you imagine now, you no longer need to go anywhere.
All over the place.
Like you are just here, you are voting and you're talking to your people. You don't need, you can imagine every single thing is catered for. Of course, we are not God. We might not have like 100% of answers. But what we are saying is this. Look at the advantages of what we are putting on the table and what currently is. Where is the advantage? Even you as you yourself, as you are listening, where does the advantage lean?
Sure.
2,000 to 36 shilling. Security of the voter. Transparency. Voter turnout. Right? Comfort within your homes. I mean, if you look at it and compare to paper voting, honestly speaking, what would you be doing rejecting such a program?
Sure. You know, and we are going to do this, John. We will do a bigger look into this in a couple of days, in the coming week, because it's necessary that we do. We can look into the merits and the demerits of all of this and ask ourselves the questions as to why this is not being used. But one of the questions that we know will be asked to you in a couple of days is, how did you build this? Who provided the means through which you're able to build this system?
Okay.
Because it will come into play. And then beyond, is there a bottom line? You know, people are going to ask, so what's in it for you? Why would you want to do this? We need to get that out of the way.
Okay. Let me answer first, and then I give him to answer. I want all Kenyans to know this. I want you to focus on the key words we are using, and especially people online. Focus on the key words we are using. There is a very important word I'm repeating. Decentralized. It's a very key word. I'll need to explain something to you. The advantage of this system is that, assuming we have begun the idea, everything has a beginner. You know, nothing just begins by itself, right? The advantage of this system, I'm going to speak about it from a layman's point of view, then allow my brother to address it, is that assuming you are outside there and you are into the IT department, you are in Embu, you are in Meru, you are in Rift Valley, you are in Garissa, Western, think about wherever you are, and you want to participate in building this network. It is built on a decentralized platform. What does that mean? All of us are coming to participate. Like, you can literally look at what the codings are, what it took to build this system. Let's agree. Everyone, sorry? It's an open source system, right? So all of us literally can come and look at this open source system. You want to add a value on this open source system, you can literally put it here. The value add of this, my open source system, is there is this thing that this thing needs to have. We can put it here. Right. Someone is in Central. There is this thing you need to have. You can put it here. There is no one person that owns this thing. This thing is owned by all Kenyans because it's an open source decentralized system. I'd like my brother to add something on it.
Well, I think in response to the voter apathy, you see, when a pandemic hit the country, what would it have been to nations to ignore vaccines and remedies to the pandemic? So the remedy to the current issue of voter apathy is simply transparency. And this is what the system offers. Because people are feeling disenfranchised from the very systems that we say people, the Constitution actually says that the sovereign power belongs to the people. But it does not pass beyond paper. People are only made to feel important or made to feel like they count, but in essence, they don't really count.
I hear you.
Right? So transparency and visibility is what this system makes someone feel like, if I do this, it actually counts. It's a patriotic act to vote, and it really counts. I can prove I voted. This is my vote, and I actually saw it to the very end. This is what we are trying to instill in the people. Make them feel like their participation counts for something. It's not just something like leads to bloodshed. I would hate to see what happened in Tanzania happening here, despite us having a solution that was ignored.
All right. I mean, like we said, in the next couple of days, one of the things that we must never be afraid to do is to populate society with an idea that at the very least has shown its mettle. So that's why in another couple of days you will be back here, and we want to thank you in advance already for coming, because there's a lot more to explain, there's a lot more to experience for people to understand what it really means. Most people will shun an idea not because of anything else, but because they don't understand it, and they're not familiar with it. And then, of course, we want to go into the more of why those who reject it, because obviously it might be the answer to the issues that have been plaguing the electoral systems of the world, for a very long period of time. So we look forward to the next one. It'll happen in a couple of days, but let's look through this thing properly, and then also continue to ask the questions as to why are people not accepting it, and the reasons as to why we ought to. John T.W., governance expert, thank you for being here this morning. Can you remind me your name, sir?
My name is Jesse Mureithi.
Jesse Mureithi, thank you for being here. We look forward to the next one in a few days for us to be open this up a little bit. Asante Sana.
Thank you.
It's 9:01. Good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The results of the Grade 9 KCSE are set to be released tomorrow. This follows last month's assessment introduced under the new CBE system, which replaced the KCPE. Unlike the KCPE, KCSE candidates will not receive specific marks. The results will instead determine their placement in secondary schools next year. The Ministry of Education maintains that the CBE system ends the era of school rankings and public celebrations over exam scores. Denmark's Queen Mary Donaldson is in Kenya for a 3-day official visit after arriving last night. Her visit aims to strengthen cooperation between Kenya and Denmark on environmental conservation and climate change. She will tour several coastal conservation and development projects focusing on endangered species and marine and terrestrial ecosystems. Queen Mary will also review waste management initiatives in Nairobi that support sustainable urban development. The highlight of her visit will be attending UNEA 7 at the UN headquarters in Nairobi, where global leaders are discussing key environmental policies. A sense of anxiety is growing in Makueni County's health sector amid reports of a blood shortage in public hospitals. County Health Chief Officer Joyce Mutua confirmed the shortage during a blood donation drive at Kibwezi Sub-County Hospital, but assured the public that the situation is under control. She said the county usually relies on donations from secondary and tertiary students, but with schools on long holiday, the health department has turned to the general public for support.
Kama county government huwa tunategemea sana shule. Wakati shule zimefunguliwa tunaenda kule, especially shule za upili, na wanatoa damu, na colleges pia huwa wanatusaidia sana kwa kutoa damu. Lakini sasa vile shule zimefungwa, kuna ile tulikuwa tumesanya, lakini ni mpaka tukae tukiongeza kiwango cha damu ambacho tuko naye. Isifike wakati tuwe kiwango kimeenda chini. Na ndio sababu tumefanya hii campaign ya hii area, wananchi wajitokeze, na tunashukuru vile wamejitokeza kwa wingi. Tumeona boda riders wamejitokelezea, tumeona national government officials, saizi hapa tuko na OCS.
Political tensions have resurfaced between Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti and County Assembly Speaker Ann Kusia. Governor Ndeti has accused the Speaker of abruptly suspending yesterday's Assembly sitting before debate on a fund bill meant to support women groups. Speaking at the press briefing, the Governor termed the move an effort to head administration's performance.
They have let us down. Among the items that had been lined up for the deliberation by the Assembly was the Wekwatio Fund and the Annual Development Plan, ADP. The ADP outlines the development agenda for the government for the whole year. The decision to adjourn Assembly by Speaker has smashed the dreams and aspirations of our women and youth in this county. That was an act of irresponsibility and senseless by the Speaker.
And in the international scene, the ICC has sentenced a Sudanese militia leader to 20 years in prison for atrocities committed during a civil war more than 2 decades ago. Ali Mohammed had been convicted in October on 27 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity in the Darfur region. Known as Ali Kushyab, he was one of the leaders of the Janjaweed, a government-backed group that terrorized Darfur, killing hundreds of thousands of people. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing policy of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust.
For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversations continue. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock, and we are in the Situation Room this Wednesday, the 10th of December. We continue with them this morning, and we'll do that in just a while. But I have to remind you, folks, that what is it that you're doing with your future? How are you planning? What are your goals and what are your targets? Sometimes you think, okay, am I going to have to go sit in line to talk to somebody about what I want to do in 2025, or what I want to do in 2028, or what I want to do in 2030? No. With ICEA Lion's digital tools, you can actually ensure that from the comfort of wherever it is that you are, you can set those goals and targets into motion. You can actually be in a situation whereby you're in one place and thinking about your goals for tomorrow. Also, with ICA Lion's digital tools, you can say, I need by the end of 10 years to have 10 million shillings. And the tools will compute all of that for you and tell you, okay, fine, starting from January 2026, this is the kind of commitment you need in order to fulfill those dreams. You don't have to worry too much about what your plan is, because the folks at ICA Lion will tell you, you know what, sure, you didn't do it for the last 20 years, but we can start today. You didn't think about what your goal or your target would be, but we can sort that and figure that out for you right here, right now. So let's do it with ICA Lion, shall we? Let's do it as we get towards the end of the year. Let's make sure that those plans and those goals and those targets are met, set, and gotten. And how do you do that? You go to icealion.co.ke, and there's good folks over there who will help you walk through the process. Sindio. Sasa, we are buying. It's more than just buying bundles. Yes. It's about experiences that can live through because you spend minimal amounts of money for unlimited amounts of access.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right.
And you're talking about limited amount, that is being 9 shillings for 1 hour and 45 shillings for 3 hours. And this will enable you exactly what you've said, experience life and maintain it at where you want. You know, we keep on talking in terms of, I want to enjoy my movies, I want to enjoy my movies from the comfort of my home and stream through the entire period. Airtel is telling you can do that by dialing *544# or go download the Airtel app that is on Play Store and App Store, where you are able to do that. Remember, you can also get these data bundles by getting yourself an Airtel SIM card at any Airtel shop, and these will enable you not miss out, especially on instances, on experiences that mean a lot to you. Tell us what your situation is, an experience in life that you missed out on, the most important thing in your life, and if you convince us that that is a good story, 3,000 shillings worth of airtime gets to you. Remember, with that 3,000 airtime, you're able to buy how much more unlimited data to maintain your life? Perhaps mwaka mzima.
Kabisa, perhaps mwaka mzima. And speaking of the mwaka and how it has come to an end, we're getting into the festive season, folks. And what do you need to do? You need to today go down to the Sarit Center. Why? Because there's certain people there that you might want to meet. Mr. and Mrs. Claus. Did you know there was a Mrs. Claus? Well, you get an opportunity to meet her. That's a conversation for another day. You also get an opportunity to listen to very many choral presentations. You can have listening to Christmas carols. You can have a fun time with karaoke singing and fun games, storytelling with Santa, family trivia, and letter writing to Santa. This is the time to say, Santa, this is Dennis. This year, I've been naughty, I've not been nice. Or rather, I've been nice and I have not been naughty. And then you could get something. Daily surprise Santa gifting could come as a result of that. Buy Sarit gift vouchers for the perfect festive surprise. Enjoy live Christmas performances every weekend. Feast, shop, and jingle at Sarit this festive season. That's what we want you to do. Sawa sawa. All right, we're going down to the Sarit Center. And remember, today's Wednesday, tomorrow is Thursday. And down at Sarit Center, you can get the perfect gift at the Masai Market that happens on Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. From hustle to hardship is what is the People's Audit. It's the Office of the Citizen. It's the Okoh Uchumi campaign. It's been convened by TISA. And we're looking at a number of things that the Kenyan is carrying on her or his back. Bad governance, theft, corruption, state capture, conflict of interest, exposing the cost of Kenya's betrayal. Where? Those are some heavy things that we're looking at, but it's the truth. And joining us in this conversation is the head of programs at the Institute for Social Accountability, otherwise known as TISA, and that's Alexander Revi. He joins us this morning. Good morning, Alexander.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to hear that there's some 3,000 for Bado somewhere. I hope I qualify.
Yeah, well, you know, for that at that level, we may pretend that you are not in the
room. Okay.
Yeah.
But while at that, so just get yourself your Airtel app and they will sort you out, But meanwhile, we have a proverb.
Okay.
And this proverb is from the continent. So we were picking great proverbs from the continent. A tree of patience has bitter roots, but its fruits is sweet.
A tree of patience.
Yes, has bitter roots, but its fruit is sweet. How would you interpret it?
I would relate with an old proverb that used to be given when I was in primary school, that the roots of education are bitter, but the fruits are sweet. So it's something similar. It means any tree that produces good fruits, then there is some endurance that is required for you to get the fruits that you intend. And that is what my primary school teachers used to tell us. You don't worry. Tunakuchapa and all that, and you have to wake up early, walk barefoot to school, but the fruits ahead. It will be beautiful.
It will be beautiful. Okay, so that's some optimism and some inspiration that maybe the days ahead are not going to be so dark and difficult. But that would be the opposite picture that this is people's audit from the Office of the Citizen is painting. Because at this point, Alexander, we are looking at public funds under siege, the rising tide of corruption and embezzlement. It's interesting that we're having this conversation today, or rather at this time, because at 6 a.m. today we had a conversation with the CS, the National Treasury, John Mbadi. And we raised this corruption issue, but they seem to... the government imagines that what we need to do is, get some more funds then to be able to do the things that we need to do. But from this, what we see is that the things that are on the shoulders of Kenyans today, bad governance, theft, corruption, state capture, conflict of interest, and we are saying Okoh uchumi bado. Why?
Bado. Just to take you back to November of 2024, the government, through the principal cabinet secretary, requested the IMF to come into the country and conduct what is called a governance and corruption diagnostic. And this is a technical assistance that is offered to governments by the IMF. And the idea here is to try and look for or do a study, not really an audit, but a study of corruption vulnerabilities. And this came out of a realization that the economic hardships we find ourselves in are not just economic, but they have a governance angle. And later in the year, I think around May, the World Bank also produced what is called a public finance review.
Right.
And from the same, the World Bank also highlights that what we need as a country is a mix of economic policy decisions and governance corrective measures as a country. And the idea here is the fact that when you look at our economic infrastructure, we have enough money moving around. But the question has always been, how are we spending our money? So now, for us as the Okoh Uchumi campaign, having learned from our colleagues in Sri Lanka, Kenyans will be aware that Sri Lanka went into a crisis in 2023 where they couldn't pay their obligations. And the fund, the IMF, that is conducted a governance and corruption diagnostics for Sri Lanka. But the civil society organizations there also conducted their own parallel or shadow governance and corruption diagnostics. So we followed that cue, and that is how the Okoh Uchumi campaign has now produced the public audit, because we want to, as Kenyans, we understand our situation better than the IMF, better than the World Bank and any other person. So we decided as Kenyans, let us produce a document that is not too technical to the extent that Kenyans won't understand what is in the document, but goes to the lived realities of Kenyans. How are we feeling in our pockets? How is our education? How is our healthcare? How does the whole question of governance affect the resources that we have as a country? How is the debt situation in our country? How is it affecting the daily lives of every Kenyan? And that is what we have provided in the public audit. But beyond providing the diagnosis of the problem, we have gone to an extent of providing feasible solutions towards the end. What do we need to do with our budget credibility? What do we need to do with our debt justice? What do we need to do with our independent institutions in terms of handling and tackling the whole issue of corruption? Beyond that, we are cognizant of the fact that government is a going concern. Our government, we have gone back and done a study starting from 1963, coming all the way to September of 2025, and asking ourselves, where did the rain start beating us? So we have gone back, and we do not want to place the blame on one person or the other. We are asking ourselves as Kenyans, what is our problem? Where did the rain start beating us? So we have gone back to 63, what happened in 1974 with what is called the Degwa Commission, where the Degwa Commission was trying to do a study on improving remuneration of our public servants. Yeah. But then we have some policies that were taken in 1974 that have seen us get into the problems that we are in economically today, where because our economy that time was not very well developed, especially in the private sector, and we didn't have so many people who were educated. Most of the educated people were working in government. The report concluded that let us allow public servants also to get into commercial entities, so that we build our private sector. So now when we look at now our financial sector, our insurance companies, our banking sector, and so on, you will see a correlation between what happened in 1974 and the current ownership of those particular financial institutions. Now, this is important because it has a relationship with our debt position. Our current debt today, as of September 2025, stands at 12.05 trillion. But of that, 54% of that is held by domestic lenders. Right. Those are banks, insurance companies, and so on. So it has a relationship. And then we are looking at this whole story of state capture. How do we see our politics? How does it intertwine with our economic policies? So that is the whole story that we are trying to tell in the public.
Alex, you see, you've brought in terms of revisiting our past for us to know when the rain started beating us. You mentioned about the 1974 case where public servants were allowed to pretty much get into private sector and do business with government. You know, that is one of the biggest problems that the country finds itself in today. But if you go to just some of the issues that you've raised as well here is Kenya's macroeconomic performance over the past decade reflects an economy that expanded significantly through public spending, but without corresponding structural and institutional transformation. Between 2014 and 2025, total public debt increased from approximately 2.4 trillion to 12.05 trillion. And you just read that statement itself, and you look at, we're talking about 12 trillion. But you look at our economy, you look at our business, you look at the state of economy, and you cannot see 12 trillion. You cannot see 12 trillion. And one asks the question in terms of governance, how has governance let Kenyans down so much that today it's difficult to see what 1 billion shillings collected, say, in Nairobi on a daily basis cannot be seen anywhere. Instead, what you're seeing is 3 billion shillings is lost every day.
So now, this is where we have the problem. Because if you look at, and that is why we have zeroed in on the period 2014 and 2025, because this is the period within which we have seen a rapid increase in our debt position. What we are borrowing today in a year, for instance, President Kibaki in his entire 10 years borrowed the same amount that we are borrowing in a year. So technically, you would expect to see the sort of rapid development indicators we saw in the 10 years of Kibaki. Remember, when President Kibaki came to power in 2003, we had just come from December of 2002, when every parent in primary school had paid school fees in the third term. But we get into first term of 2003, and every student was not paying a thing. So that would tell you that we expect that there would have been a serious jump in terms of expenditure. But then students go to school across the 5 years, the first term, and then we get into the problem that we got into 2007, and then we had a slump in our economy. But then come the second term, we have all the roads, all the electricity connection, the water, the hospitals, and everything. So 1.2 trillion over 10 years. Now, 1.2 trillion every year, but we are not seeing that sort of growth within a year. I would have expected as a layman, if 1.2 trillion in debt did the things that it did in 10 years, then actually the country would have accelerated towards the first world that we've been promised within every single year. We will be seeing all the roads, including the one I've used to come here, being properly carpeted after we did the nice expressway. The other road that was left for us has not been done as we expected. I would have expected to see a superb road done within a year, and every other road across the country, water, dams, very serious, heavy
garbage
infrastructure.
collection in Nairobi.
Well, it is no longer the green city in the sun.
We could use a different color.
I think we need to look for a different color, because simple things like sweeping the city, a few of us have had the privilege of traveling outside the country, and you see a lot of people work at night, just cleaning the streets in some countries. We can do the same in our city if we used the resources that we have properly, and we would also be in a position to actually even appreciate as Kenyans, this is why we are spending this money, this is why we are borrowing. Because remember, I am an economist, and infrastructure is very good. Heavy infrastructure is good, but the returns from those heavy infrastructure comes over time. So we need a mix of between heavy infrastructure and soft things. Now, when you see the state of our education, and we are hearing every other day capitation is either delayed or it's even being reduced, and the university funding model is having challenges here and there, it tells you there is a problem. If you look at within the public audit, I think should be somewhere in chapter 3, you will see that over those years, the amount of money that we are spending on social services has been declining as the money we are spending on debt servicing has been increasing. We have an inverted graph that should be on page 19 of the public audit. You will see that graph that we've presented there. It gives you a very worrying number there, that we are having a reduction of the services that we are receiving, be it education, health, and so on, at the expense of debt servicing. Actually, last financial year, our debt servicing costs on interest alone crossed the 1 trillion mark. And in this year, when you combine both debt servicing, interest, and principal amount, we are looking at a number that is approaching 2 trillion. So it's worrying. That tells you about 7 shillings of every 10 shillings that we collect as ordinary revenue, that is from our taxes, goes to debt repayment. So it is quite worrying where we are going, and we need to actually ask questions in terms of where is this money going.
And yet these factors remain constant. That I imagine that we've been sitting in these chairs for, let's just say, the last 1 year, and these factors have been constant. Debt payment has been through the roof. Economy is tanking in the pockets of Kenyans. That corruption still continues to be an issue that is heavy. State capture, parliamentarians say quite openly, yes, we know we've been captured. It's like the person who's been captured, against their will, but they're just saying, here, put the bracelets on, kind of thing. But those things remain constant. And even with that, TISA tells us also that When President Uhuru Kenyatta at that time told us that 2 billion shillings a day was lost to, well, I hate to use the word lost when it comes to corruption, was stolen due to corruption, it has now gone to 3 billion shillings, according to a TISA report. 3 billion shillings a day. That's a lot of money. 3 billion shillings in a year is 100 billion shillings more than the money that government wants to offload its shares to Safaricom to get. Yeah. So you can imagine what would happen to the economy. This economy that everything, where's the money? That the money that could be gotten back from, we're just talking about this 3 billion. The money that could be gotten back from corruption if we just tighten the loopholes and if we actually, were serious about fighting the thing, is more than the money that we have all in this hullabaloo about whether Safaricom shares will be divested or not. It seems to me that it is a lack of priority more than anything else. It's not for lack of expertise. We just had a conversation with some brilliant men a few minutes ago who are telling us about the things that they can do with technology to ensure that a vote is secured. It's not for lack of expertise. The cabinet secretary tells us that government is unable to do anything commercially, not because they don't, just because the people just won't.
Yeah.
So it's not a brick and mortar issue, Alexander. It seems to be a lack of a desire to actually do the right thing. And excuse me to just be a little bit long-winded about this, but you talk about the people in other countries who keep their cities clean. Have you watched them? The person who is tasked with sweeping or cleaning a certain part of a mall in some countries which we've been to.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that person will do on their shift. On their 8-hour shift, every 20 minutes they're cleaning until you sit there and you're like, oh, how annoying they're cleaning. But guess what? If they didn't, you would see the result of it. That's what we see in Nairobi, for example. That you look at this person, they come, and this woman is back with her broom, she's cleaning the thing. She's gone, she's come back, she's back with her broom, she's cleaning the thing. She is meticulous in her duty, and she's doing the same thing over and over again because the result is what we're talking about now. It's clean.
Yes.
But that seems to be our issue, that we just won't do the right thing.
Yeah, I think that is where we have a problem. Kenyans they're hardworking. Kenyans are very hardworking, and if that energy was driven towards the right direction, as a country we would move ahead so fast. As you have said, these are the same people that are working in those malls that and it's Kenyans who are employed in government offices. If we give them the right working environment, then they would actually do what we expect of them, and we would see results. But now there is this whole question of state capture, which we have tried to analyze in the public audit, and we are looking at it from a very high angle, where we see the economic policy making process that is largely controlled by the executive, and the National Assembly has a big part to play. But what we are seeing, and the results of this study indicate that the powers of the National Assembly or Parliament at large has been dwindled. And even when the conversations we've had with the members of Parliament over this period, they give you an impression of an organ of government that is smothered by the executive. And we have seen a situation where we have an executive that creates a problem. Everybody suffers for some period. Then the executive comes up with now a solution to the problem that they had created. And in chapter 3 of the report, we have called it constitutional mimicry, where there is this particular institution of government that is constitutional, that is, for instance, supposed to handle issues of human rights, for instance. Let me use that as an example. They're supposed to look at human rights violations, if there are compensations that are supposed to be done, they recommend, and then the executive implements. But then you go against that constitutional order and create some other amorphous body or organ that is supposed to come and cure the same problem that has been created by the executive, maybe through overreach of some government agencies, so that you're seen to be providing a solution. But you're providing a solution to a problem that you had created. Now, what this has done, it keeps us as Kenyans very busy dealing with today's problems, and we do not see the bigger economic problems that are being created for us going forward. And then we are given easy solutions and numbers that at times we cannot verify. But when we look at now the underlying issues of what is happening, there is going to be greater impact going forward. Like right now, what is the talk in town, the divestiture of Safaricom and so on? Why is it that instead of building our economy so that it can produce more resources, we just want to pick that cow that is doing well and sell it off?
You see, Alexander, you just brought in something very critical when you talk about the duel between constitution and corruption. And if you just remember the State of the Nation address and what was said in terms of how we are fixing the economy. So the macro level looks good. The international community says, Kenya, you're doing very well. In fact, we will even extend more credit to you, because at the macro level, everything looks nice. But you scale it further down to the micro now, where it is Aseto, pesa mfukoni, because that was the promise, and it's zero. Bei ya unga ilipanda, lakini ya nyanya na vitunguu. Unajua, ilipanda ya unga ilishuka, lakini everything else imepanda. So at the end of the day, we glorify a system that seems to make the few comfortable and the majority uncomfortable, and we say we are fixing the economy. You talk about on page 11, Kenya's political economy operates through what some scholars term as constitutional mimicry, a system where institutions exist in form but not function as expected. If we followed the constitution and allowed all these bodies to just work as expected of them, what kind of Kenya would we be talking about today?
That's a very good question, and that is why we have put together that particular chapter. Because in our view, and the view of our peers in the continent and across the globe, is that we have one of the best constitutions in the world. We have a constitution that has independent offices, has a parliament that has very overreaching powers. We have a Senate that can call to order the president and even send him home. We have a county assembly that can send the governor home when Senate, of course, approves that. We have all these, the Auditor General, an independent office. We have an independent office called the Controller of Budget. We have the Kenya National Human Rights Commission that is supposed to look at all violations that are happening in terms of all the rights that are provided for under the Bill of Rights and Article 43 of the Constitution. A perfect document. But now, what we have highlighted here, we have a situation where we are stifling even budgetary allocations to these institutions. So it makes it very difficult for them to function. And in my opinion, and we have had the sittings with the Parliament as well, Parliament has been neutered to the extent that the powers that we bestowed upon that particular institution are not seen. The reason is, when you look at how our parliamentarians get into office, that is where their power is actually cut from the beginning. Because we have the political, the financing, the political campaigns financing act, that actually limits the amount of money that any candidate is supposed to spend when it comes to their campaigning. But now, what we see with our politics, it is money driven. So when somebody wants to, if I wanted to vie for a seat as a member of parliament, what we are seeing is from the IEBC reports, you need at least 35 million for that particular position. Governor position, what has been moving around 100 million. For the president, the numbers is about 3.5 billion. Now, where are you going to get this money? obviously not many people have that sort of money. So you're going to get this money from financiers. They could be contractors, they could be business associates, you could have contributions from friends and so on. But everybody who puts money into your campaign machinery will, of course, expect something from you. So now, from the word go, when these guys get into parliament or the national, the county assemblies, they already have baggage with them. So even the powers that they have are very difficult for them actually to exercise. Then, specifically for the National Assembly, we have this thing called the NGCDF.
Yes.
Which is appropriated under the State Department for Economic Planning. So technically, it is controlled by the executive. But whenever Parliament seems not to play ball, what does the executive do? They hold disbursement of CDF. So for us, and as TISA, we have been in courts and we have already gotten a ruling on this CDF issue. It has made the members of Parliament to be captive to the executive and also to the population. Because the citizens know Mheshimiwa akona CDF. So whenever Mheshimiwa shows up in the villages, we line up in their homes. Because we expect that because they have this kitty, they are going to do something about our problems. Then we are using something called bursary, both for the National Assembly. We have also the governors and the MCAs for what I call political patronage, and we have provided it there. Because you want to come and have checks that have 2,000 or 3,000 and then line up people and give them checks. So this money is used for political patronage. But also as citizens, now that we are getting into another election year, we also need to ask ourselves, how do we measure the people we vote for? Is it because they are giving us the money, or is it because they are the right people? If you look at, for instance, we've been told what happened in Bere North on the 27th of November. There are numbers flying. I think we were told one stakeholder spent around 600 million for us to capture that particular seat. What do you expect will happen when you have that sort of money being spent? And part of the recommendations we are providing in the Public Audits report, let us implement the Political Financing Act and ensure that we remain within the limits that we have. And then a lot of civic education needs to happen to the citizenry and to the voters, that we do not vote for somebody because they gave us money. In any case, voter bribery is a crime. It's actually a crime, an electoral offense that can even see you lose your seat.
Okay, so I'm thinking about, as we list these things that are obvious problems, and we know we sit here and we say we should do. That's the ideal situation, which pales in comparison to the reality. How do we move from we should to we are?
That's a good question. Part of the solutions that we have offered is, and maybe let me just pick out what we have offered in terms of the judiciary. When you look at the problems that we are in, of course, we have a challenge with the executive. As I have enumerated, right now we have a parliament that is not working as we expect. The only remaining line of defense for the Kenyan citizen today is the judiciary, which has been trying to help us when we do public interest litigations and giving us orders. So what we have decided or provided as a solution is, let us have everybody within the governance space understand where we are, especially with our governance issues and our public finance management situation. And one of the things that we are doing is to build the capacity even of our judges and even those in the political class, for them to understand where we are. Because you have a situation where the issues of the economy and public finance have been made to be so complex, such that everybody who looks at it says, now this is for the guys in treasury and for the economists. For instance, yesterday I had a sitting with all the judges of the High Court. They're having a conference somewhere around in Nairobi. And we had a discussion over where are we with the debt situation? Where are we with tax justice? And what is the role of judiciary? And these are discussions that we need to continue having with many of our colleagues in government so that we all get to an understanding of where we are. Beyond that, we are also talking to the citizens, and that is why this document was produced in the manner that it is, and we have circulated it across the country so that Kenyans get to read and understand where the challenges are, and then we have our own oversight as the public. Let us oversight what is happening with our money. Let us no longer see a road happening somewhere and imagine in the project ya serikali. No, this is our project, and we need to monitor it. Now, the government produces what is called a program-based budget. The program-based budget shows you that we have allocated 10 million shillings for a road called X, from X place to Y place, and we are going to spend this amount of money. So, and this number of kilometers will be constructed. What we need to see is that has been given information. Yes, this is what we planned to do. How much did we spend, and how many kilometers of road did we get? And what was expected of that road? Did it have a sidewalk? Did it have a bridge, and so on? So that now the citizens can follow closely at the village level. Also for the Auditor General, we are requesting the Auditor General to do what we call citizen accountability audit, where citizens themselves will actually identify topics of interest and of concern where we need to do our audit. So we need to come together, all of us, citizens, government, parliament, judiciary, and work together to ensure that the country moves forward. Because we cannot continue lamenting. This is our country. But we also need those who are in authority also to be honest and tell us we are actually not doing okay. So that is not left to Okoh and the civil society organization, because when we are the ones saying it is interpreted that we are anti-government. But we are actually not. We are just saying the truth. This is the position. This is where we are. We have a debt situation that is unbearable. Can we think about how we do our expenditure properly? Because if you look at the numbers that we are presenting here, and they are not our numbers. Yes. We have picked them from the National Treasury. Then you look at how some of our offices, the presidency, the ministers, how they are spending. It does not give you the indication that we have any problem whatsoever. But when you come to the common Mwananchi, who now cannot access healthcare, about 15 to 20 million people go without 3 meals a day in this country. Now you cannot tell that person that Kenya has a problem when they see all these choppers that are moving around. When we have a small by-election in a ward.
Alexander, do they make the connection? You know, that's the thing, because if you look at even just on the page itself, I think it's further in terms of when we say the economy is doing well, you look at the government with a bundle of money walking around and telling Mwananchi, uchumi iko mbaya, yet we see the way money is moving around, some in duffel bags walking around, and it is very difficult to convince Mwananchi that uchumi haifanyi kazi is not where it's supposed to be when we see this money being splashed around. But then again, there is the aspect of reform and the transformation agenda that everyone wants to look at. And yet we look at fiscal integrity and accountability, because we borrow, fine, but there is never accountability on how that money is being spent. Where has it gone? We borrow for development. Is that the trail that we will follow? Because most of the time, that money does not do that which it is intended for. How then do we, in terms of Ndu says we should, are we today sitting down and say, this money was borrowed for developing road X that goes to Z? It has not done that. Those that were given this contract and have not done that, this money has disappeared. Investigations, arrested, judicial system, jail. Are we saying that? Or are we saying innocent until proven guilty?
Well, you raise a good point, and that is why we have raised the four main areas that we think we need to reform. Now, just take you back to 2024, in November, we got a ruling because we went to court and we wanted to even help government. And we said, please, Treasury, give us all the debt contracts. Let us see who we owe, how much, what is the repayment schedule, and what did the money do. And we got orders from the court. And the National Treasury was given 45 days to give us those documents. That lapsed in January. We've been writing to Treasury asking where are we with this. And now, as far as we are concerned, the Treasury is in contempt. Because we thought, as civil society organizations, as Okoh, instead of just making noise and saying the debt problem is there is odious debt and all these things, just give us the documentation. I think the problem that we see is it is possible that if we were given those debt contracts, because we were going to go through each one of them and say, okay, we borrowed from Do to construct a road from X to Y. Then we go to that X to Y and find out, do we have a road? If the road is indeed there, according to the specifications that are here, we say, correct, this one we should pay. We go to the next one. We were supposed to do a dam in a place Z. We go there, see whether there is a dam. If it is there, good, we pay. If it is not there, then we say we won't pay and can't pay because we cannot see where the money went. But now, and one of the things that we have recommended, is it possible after we sign a debt agreement, within 30 days, that document is made public in a public portal that is controlled by both the National Assembly and the National Treasury. Public portal, so that all of us can clearly see what is happening, and then the citizens themselves can actually follow and see what is this money was borrowed, is it doing what is intended? Those are the sort of questions and sort of solutions that we are providing when it comes to fiscal accountability. The other thing that we are suggesting is when we are doing our revenue projections and our expenditure projections, let them be as factual as possible. Let us stop this business of coming up with a budget that has inflated revenue projections, so we end up spending against inflated revenue projections that will not translate into money. This ends up building into pending bills and increases our debt portfolio. Because when you realize that you have contracted and you will not receive this money, then it results to two things. Either you will have pending bills or you need to increase your borrowing. This now will sink us deeper and deeper into the hole that we have. But if we were to do fiscal accountability, both revenue and expenditure side, and then if we have to borrow, it should be clear that we are borrowing because of this reason, and this is what this money is going to do, and that is being made open to all of us. For instance, what we have now as a securitization of our fuel levy, I have honestly not come across any document that tells me this is why we securitized our fuel levy, this money is supposed to do this, and so on. We come across this information in a way that it is almost hidden. And when we start talking about it, that is when now somebody from government will come and say, yeah, we securitized. So we shouldn't go that way, and we should adhere to requirements of Article 201 on openness and accountability of what we do.
I read something, and it may seem as though it's a defeatist policy or a defeatist agenda, but that it seems to have worked. That things, and I have to be very careful as I say this, but that things have to get really bad for you to understand the need to do something about it. And that when you're seeming to get by, that you don't really realize it's okay. Until you get to the point whereby the doctor's going to have to amputate a limb is when you realize, okay, hang on a minute, that behavior that needed to have changed if you're doing something that is wrong by your lifestyle. Do we see that nations have to go through that process whereby, okay, fine, let it get as bad as it can, let it get bad, let it just, because you can speak about it, but until you see the need to actually pull yourself out of a hole, like Greece and the EU, whereby they said, okay, guy, you want to be part of this thing? you're going to have to do certain things or you're going to fall apart, which they basically were falling apart, bursting at the seams before that hard stance was taken to get them back to whereby we're seeing an almost profitable economy in a very short period of time. Do things need to get bad? I mean really economically unsustainable for there to see this is the thing that we must do?
I don't think we have to get to those levels, but unfortunately, I think in this part of the world, that is the posture that governments have taken. And if you look at what happened in 2024, we had a situation where Kenyans made a lot of noise on the tax measures that were introduced in 2023. That is when we brought in the housing levy and a few other things went through. People made a bit of noise.
Yes.
But government had its way at the end of the day. So now, out of the boldness that came from 2023, then we had the many raft of tax measures that were proposed in 2024. Then you saw what happened in 2024.
Right.
And now that made the 2025 finance bill, it was toned down a bit compared to the 2023 and the 2024. So it seems like the picture you are painting seems to be what governments go for. Let us push as far as we can, and if it becomes too much, then we think of how we pull back. I think we're also seeing a bit of that in the neighborhood. You saw like what was happening yesterday, which I don't want to delve into, but it seems like we just want to push people all the way to the edge. 5 years ago, tax and debt issues were not an issue of discussion in this country. They were not. But now, it is, everybody knows that Kenya iko na deni. And every other time when we are getting into the finance bill, every Kenyan is watching and waiting to hear which new tax measure is coming in. Now, this opens a window that is not good for both government and Kenyans. Because if people are suspecting that you're going to do something bad, if you're not open, then everybody will start creating all manner of issues, even introducing particular provisions that are not even in the law. So that is an opportunity for government to be as open as possible. And that is what we are proposing as a way forward. Let us be accountable and let us be open.
But don't you have to want to do it? Yeah. Isn't this the thing? That you have to want to do it. You have to want to be open and accountable. Nobody's going to force it down your throat like the bitter pill a child has to swallow. That you have to want to be somebody of integrity. You have to want to have that character whereby you deal on these issues of integrity, that you deal with the corruption issue. We can't wish it for somebody, can you?
We can't. And luckily we have a constitution that is so clear on the obligations that if it is the CS Treasury or the President, Parliament, everybody, it is clear on your obligations. Look at what we have provided for ourselves in Article 10 of the Constitution. We have also done it in Article 118, Article 174, Article 201 on openness and public participation. That is genuine. What we are requesting here is, if you look at since 2024, the Finance and Planning Committee of the National Assembly, now they do a very good report. Every other submission that goes to the floor, they actually have a report that indicates that Alex came and made this recommendation. The committee looked at it, and this is the decision that was taken. We need to have the same kind of reporting by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Because it has been our view, and it is our view, that Kenya does not have a revenue problem. What we have is an expenditure problem. So we need to attack the expenditure problem.
Alexander, we operate in a country that is guided by the rule of law. Constitution is there that guides everything that we do in a country. You borrow for what? You spend it how you spend it. In the event that you need a supplementary budget, what informs that decision? The law is there. But we live and operate as if the law is a suggestion. And one would say, if we become individuals who are constitutionally empowered to operate within the confines of the Constitution, Kenya is a beautiful place. Institutions will work and services will be provided. But there seems to be laxity in living as per the constitution.
Yeah, that is what worries us, because we wonder, we have a very good document that tells you what to do every corner of the way. If it's public finances, there is no guesswork. We have a whole chapter 12 of the constitution that tells you what you need to do at what point. But now we have a situation where right now we are borrowing, I think this year we are targeting to borrow 923 billion, which is likely to go higher as we do supplementary one. But the development budget is 800 plus. So that tells you that there's already over 100 billion, almost 200 billion that we are going to borrow for recurrent. The same constitution and the PFM Act provides that we should not borrow for recurrent. So we are not devoid of we don't have a deficit of laws. And then you have a parliament that is supposed to enforce. In fact, I have even had this discussion with members of parliament. I tell them, this is not a budget that should be appropriated by the National Assembly. If prima facie, we can see that the amount of money that is going to development expenditure is less than the borrowing, then automatically, even without doing too much math, this one we reject. Let us have expenditures that are aligned with our what we call fiscal responsibility principles. And one of them is that we do not borrow for recurrent, we borrow for development. And the bigger animal in our borrowing spectrum is domestic debt. Because the domestic debt, most of it is not attached to a project.
There seems to be a lot of work to do, but it looks as though the original position or the first position should be one where there is a desire to actually bring about a change. So that desire, you actually get it or you're forced into it. And it looks like those are the two options that we have at the moment. And to then be able to shed light on these issues is extremely important. Get a copy of the People's Audit if you can. Have a look at some of these things. Exposing the cost of Kenya's economic betrayal is what the Institute of Social Accountability has gotten into, of course, with the call Chumi to look into some of these things. Alexander Rethe, thank you so much for being here this morning, Head of Programs at the Institute for Social Accountability. These are things that we continue to talk about. They often talk about leadership and governance doing better once they are aware that the people are aware. So that's something that we must do here. And we want to thank you for joining us this morning to have that conversation. And of course, we'll continue with this as we go along. Thank you for being part of the Situation Room this morning and for being part of this conversation. We started it early today and going bang on it from 6 a.m. We'll continue to have these conversations as we do. So thank you for joining us there, for allowing us to be in your spaces as we talk about these things which are extremely important. And so even as we end it today, and I know that we've been having those conversations around, a lot of things that may get us down, but here's a note of optimism, because at its core, ICA is in the business of human growth and the joy of a better life, of a better tomorrow. They want to romance the benefits of planning for the future in an upbeat and memorable way. This isn't about fear. It's about the great life you can build when you're prepared. They help discerning individuals create wealth and protect themselves through innovative services. So whether it's wealth generation, whether it's protecting assets or retirement security, ICA Line is a brand for you. If you're not planning for the future with insurance and investments, it's high time you did. So what's your plan? Get started with icealion.co.ke. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Over 2.1